Chapter 113. The battle continued. The Elysium Guards, who had the advantage in numbers, were slowly losing ground. The number of casualties gradually increased, and the smell of blood in the streets became heavier. Jin Peng was anxious. At this time, Huang Jia's bone forging was unable to help. Even if the ordinary Huang Jia guards went up, they would not be able to help. Furthermore, because the Huang Jia guards were not familiar with the Elysium Guards, if they rashly went up, their fighting strength would be greatly reduced. Helplessly, he called for a guard and ordered, "Quickly go to His Excellency's residence and report the situation here to His Excellency. Quickly." "Yes." He looked at the guard's back that disappeared into the darkness and sighed. It was originally a small matter, but now I have to trouble His Excellency to help. Sigh. What should I do? If it was not for the fact that it was a critical situation, Jin Peng would rather lose half of his men than inform Zhou Fu. He originally wanted to use this matter to eliminate part of the killing intent in Zhou Fu's heart. Unfortunately, the heavens were not on his side. If he did not ask for help now, his side would be destroyed. In the small alley, the Elysium Guards were running quickly. Suddenly, a black shadow appeared not far away. "Who is it?" The guard stopped in his tracks and pulled out his long sword, holding it in front of him. His eyes scanned the surroundings, looking for an opportunity to escape. The figure in the darkness took a few steps forward. With the help of the starlight, the guard saw the person's face. He was stunned at first, but then he shouted in surprise, "His Excellency!" The person who came was Zhou Fu. The guard said excitedly, "His Excellency, we have encountered a strong enemy. Our brothers are about to die. We hope that His Excellency can help us." Then, he turned around and pointed behind him. "It's over there, just across the alley." As the guard spoke, Zhou Fu came to the guard's side. He reached out and grabbed the guard's right hand that was holding the long sword. With a twist of his wrist, he broke the guard's arm. The long sword turned into a cold light, and in a burst of bloody smell, a head full of astonishment rolled on the ground. After killing the guards, Zhou Fu once again came to the side of the battlefield. Hiding in the darkness, he leaned against the wall and continued to admire the slaughter. Gradually, a faint blood-red color appeared in his eyes. An inexplicable impulse rose from the bottom of Zhou Fu's heart, slowly affecting his emotions. Zhou Fu called out the auxiliary interface and looked at the cultivation technique inside. Tyrant Whale Fist, level up. Ding. Tyrant Whale Fist has leveled up successfully. Tyrant Whale Fist. Level 2, Advanced Strength Amplification Level 2, Advanced Strength Condensation Level 2, Demonic Will Level 2, Killing Intent Level 2. Accompanied by the boiling qi and blood in his body, as well as the rolling heat, Zhou Fu's status points dropped rapidly, from full to 80 and then to 70. It didn't stop after 70. It continued to fall, but at a much slower speed. In the end, his status value stabilized at 63. Zhou Fu, whose face was pale and covered in sweat, didn't seem to feel the sharp pain in his body. At this moment, his eyes had lost their luster, as if he had lost consciousness. After a while, his eyes slowly regained their luster, but they were covered in a faint blood-red color. Zhou Fu suddenly smiled and sighed. "So, this is the real Tyrant Whale Fist." Just a moment ago, after he leveled up the Tyrant Whale Fist, a large amount of information about it appeared in his mind, allowing him to have a deeper understanding of this cultivation technique. At the same time, he also learned a lot of combat techniques, as well as some of the secrets of the Blood Horse. Zhou Fu looked at the battlefield. At this moment, there were only 6 Elysium Guards left, and they were still bitterly holding on. As for their 2 opponents, they only had a few more wounds on their bodies. "It's time to enter the stage," Zhou Fu thought to himself. On the battlefield, the people who were fighting fiercely suddenly felt a terrifying aura descend. In an instant, the people separated, and the 2 sides moved closer to each other, vigilantly observing their surroundings. At the same time, they also had to be wary of each other. Tap tap, the clear sound of footsteps rang out, and dozens of gazes looked towards an alley. That was where the footsteps came from. A black figure slowly appeared. "Who are you?" one of the 4 bone-forging cultivators shouted. As the person came closer, his face gradually became clearer. "My lord!" Jean Ping excitedly shouted. At this moment, even the Elysium guards were starting to get excited, as if they had forgotten that they were still facing each other with swords. After the excitement passed, Jean Ping suddenly felt that something was wrong. He had just sent people out, so how come Zhou Fu had already arrived? This was too fast. For a moment, all kinds of thoughts appeared in his mind, but every one of them made his heart palpitate, to the point that his body was slightly trembling. Huang Feng, who was standing beside him, noticed his strange behavior and reached out his hand to lightly pat his shoulder. This time, Jean Ping was so frightened that he almost fell to the ground. Facing Jean Ping's shocked gaze, Huang Feng smiled faintly. "Shopkeeper Jean, are you feeling unwell?" No, that's good." After saying this, Huang Feng looked at him with a meaningful gaze. Zhou Fu looked at the 4 bone-forging cultivators and calmly said, "Tell me who's behind you, and I'll give you a quick death." At this moment, the 4 of them also saw Zhou Fu's pale face. Although his eyes were a strange light red, it did not prevent them from coming to the conclusion that Zhou Fu's condition was not right, and he should be injured. The 4 of them looked at each other, and under a silent exchange, they instantly understood each other's thoughts. Whoosh, whoosh. The sound of clothes fluttering could be heard as the 4 of them surrounded Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu sneered. "This is your choice?" The 4 of them shouted in unison, "Kill!" Several fierce attacks smashed towards Zhou Fu. Ridiculous! Zhou Fu was not worried at all and lightly shook his head. Then, his feet suddenly slid to the side, and he twisted his waist and swung his arm. His strong arm was like a steel whip, and under the force of several thousand pounds, he swung it out. Puff! A cloud of blood exploded in the air. It was Zhou Fu who had raised his fist and directly smashed a living person into pieces in the air. After killing one person, Zhou Fu suddenly threw himself to the ground, barely dodging 3 attacks. Then, he slammed his hands on the ground and with the rebound force, he flipped over and swept out with his legs. Gotcha! The bone-forging cultivator standing to the right of Zhou Fu had his legs broken by the huge force, and he screamed as he fell back. At this moment, under the shocked gazes of the other 2, Zhou Fu instantly flashed to the side of that person, and stomped his foot. Rumble! The ground shook and a large cloud of blood exploded under his feet. Zhou Fu turned his head to look at the remaining 2. He grinned, revealing a smile filled with killing intent. "You guys are useless, you deserve to die." One of the bone-forging cultivators seemed to have collapsed. His eyes were red, and a red mist violently rolled around his body. A pair of flesh palms struck towards Zhou Fu's chest. Zhou Fu did not dodge, and as if his body was fixed, he allowed that person to rush in front of him. The 2 palms fell. Rumble! A powerful force exploded, and the air waves rolled in all directions. What? Impossible! The pair of flesh palms stopped half an inch in front of Zhou Fu's chest. There was a layer of faint yellow light there, like a golden armor, blocking the attack. Chapter 114. Zhou Fu stretched out his right hand like lightning and grabbed the man's neck, lifting him up. At the same time, he punched out with his left hand. With a crack, the man trembled as if he had been struck by lightning. Dark red blood gushed out from his nose and mouth. "No!" The remaining man cried out in alarm. Zhou Fu carried the man in his hand and slowly walked towards the other. When he was 3 steps away, without waiting for the other to speak, Zhou Fu's hand tightened little by little. Gotcha, gotcha! Only when Zhou Fu's hand had clenched into a fist did he throw the body away. The remaining bone-forging man's eyes were filled with terror. In front of him, Zhou Fu, who seemed to be wearing golden armor, was like a demon. "Stop! I am. Without waiting for the other party to finish speaking, Zhou Fu abruptly rammed into the other party's chest, alternating between punches and elbows. Under Zhou Fu's ingenious control, the ferocious force shattered the other party's bones but did not harm the other party's internal organs. After 3 breaths, Zhou Fu stopped, and the bone-forging man collapsed to the ground like mud. This person is of great importance. Send him to the headquarters. Zhou Fu turned to Jin Peng and ordered, "This time, you didn't make a mistake, did you?" Jin Peng trembled and hurriedly replied, "Sir, please rest assured. If there is a mistake again, this subordinate would rather jump into the river and commit suicide." Zhou Fu nodded and said, "You don't need to go back. Take the 6 brothers directly to the headquarters." "Yes." Jin Peng took the 6 guards and quickly disappeared at the end of the street. At this time, Huang Feng walked to the side and asked, "Sir, what about the chef?" Zhou Fu did not even think and said, after asking clearly, "Do as you see fit." "Yes." Giant whale. Xing Gang was awakened from his dream. Not only him, but Kong Yu-tsung was also standing beside him with a solemn expression. At this moment, there was a person lying on the ground in front of them. It was the person whose bones had been broken by Zhou Fu. Further behind, the golden rock was kneeling. "Zhou Fu sent it?" "Yes." Jin Peng lowered his head and replied. "Did he say anything?" "My lord said that this matter was very important, and he didn't dare to deal with it. So, he ordered me to bring the surviving brothers and send the thieves to the headquarters." Xing Gang took a deep breath and waved his hand. "Thank you for your hard work, brothers. Go and rest. I'll reward you tomorrow morning." "Thank you, faction leader. This subordinate will take his leave." Jin Peng left the room and closed the door. The room was very quiet, so quiet that it was oppressive. "Bastard!" A hoarse roar came from Xing Gang's throat. In an instant, streaks of red light appeared, and the temperature in the room rose rapidly. "Boss, please calm down." Kong Yu-tsung, who saw that something was wrong, rolled on the ground and knelt down, his forehead hitting the ground. "Calm down. Calm your mother. How do you expect me to calm down? Why should I calm down?" A heat wave exploded on Kong Yu-tsung's body. Strangely, such a violent force didn't send him flying. Under the pull of an inexplicable force, Kong Yu-tsung was lifted high into the air. A pair of fiery red eyes were close at hand. Xing Gang breathed out a hot breath, hitting Kong Yu-tsung's face. "Sponsor. Sponsor. What kind of thing did you sponsor me for? I'm going to kill him right now." As soon as he finished speaking, Kong Yu-tsung was smashed to the ground by a huge force. The ground suddenly caved in, and the stone slabs under and around him shattered, but not a speck of dust rose. "Boss. Boss. Calm. Your strategy is important." Kong Yu-tsung used all his strength to squeeze out a sentence from his mouth. Streams of blood gushed out from his mouth. He could feel that there was a ferocious beast beside him that was emitting a high temperature. The room was silent for a few seconds. A gust of wind blew, and the heat quickly disappeared, and the temperature returned to normal. "I'll give you one more chance to explain." Kong Yu-tsung slowly got up from the ground. He didn't care about the injuries in his body. He just raised his arm and used his sleeve to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth. At this moment, he knew that Xing Gang in front of him was like a volcano that was about to erupt. Reporting to Sect Master, although Zhou Fu's growth is rapid, it is still a good thing. Now, some people in Lianwei have other ideas. They can use that knife to restore Lianwei's purity. Hearing the other party mention Lianwei, Xing Gang's face suddenly darkened. There were even a few sparks that appeared in front of him. Lianwei was a knife that Xing Gang had cultivated. The 4 broken bones that Zhou Fu fought today were all Lianwei's people. "Lianwei," a voice with unclear meaning sounded. Xing Gang slightly narrowed his eyes, as if he was making up his mind about something. At this moment, Kong Yu-tsung's body was bent. He raised his head slightly and used the corner of his eyes to observe Xinggang's expression. When he saw Xinggang's uncertain expression, he breathed a sigh of relief. Boss, since Zhou Fu sent him here, let's just say that he's an expert from the Red Sea gang. His goal is to control the docks. Xinggang suddenly stared blankly at Kong Yutsung. Boss, we can also directly order him to start a counterattack and eliminate the Red Sea gang's forces on the docks. Wonderful. Xinggang's eyes suddenly lit up. At the same time, the oppressive aura on his body also disappeared. Ha 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 ha. Wonderful. Good job, old Kong. Xinggang excitedly got up and walked in front of Kong Yutsung. He reached out and patted the other's shoulder. A warm current flowed in, helping Kong Yutsung to heal his injuries. Continue. Yes. Kong Yutsung continued. After this battle, Zhou Fu lost a lot of people. He will definitely ask us for more people. Right. Then what do you want to do? What do I want to do? Kong Yutsung sighed in his heart. Xinggang was still that cold-blooded lunatic. I think that we can't send people. Let Zhou Fu recruit people himself. But we can't do nothing. We can only provide him with some weapons, equipment, and supplies. Let him recruit people himself. Xinggang sneered. Don't tell me we're going to let him grow? No. Kong Yutsung shook his head. If we let him recruit people, we have to let him fight the Red Sea gang. Otherwise, it won't be easy to get spirit concentration pills. If Zhou Fu wants to improve quickly, he can only fight. At this point, Kong Yutsung straightened his body and sneered. Besides, who can he recruit? They're just young and strong ordinary people. Plus, they'll be transferred from the Chun and Huang families. How many experts can they have? Compared to the Red Sea gang, the Chun and Huang families are just slightly bigger grasshoppers. If Zhou Fu wants to grow, he's dreaming. Xinggang asked, what if Zhou Fu asks for help? I won't care if he's below blood replacement. Reason. Speed up Zhou Fu's growth and speed up the growth of the tyrannical whale fist's demonic nature. Kong Yaozong's eyes shone with a cold glare. Based on the report from the guard just now, Zhou Fu's overbearing whale fist has improved again, and his killing intent has also increased. I estimate that in a year, he will become a mad dog that only knows how to kill. At that time, Lord Gang Leader's plan will succeed. Xinggang was silent for a while. Then, he suddenly smiled. Good. This is a good plan. Conspiracies are intertwined. Zhou Fu is just a chess piece in my hands. A chess piece. Chapter 115. After leaving Xinggang's place, Kong Yutsung returned to his room. When he took one step into the bedroom, he stopped abruptly. Under the starlight, he saw a figure sitting on a chair by the window and drinking tea. The other party also saw Kong Yutsung, but he wasn't anxious. Instead, he smiled faintly and said, Elder Kong, it doesn't feel good to be injured by a heaven-tier technique, right? After hearing the other party's voice, Kong Yutsung relaxed. He walked to the side of the figure and sat down. He poured himself a cup of water and drank a mouthful before saying, Third Master Xing, why are you here in the middle of the night instead of sleeping? This person was the third son of the Xing family, Xinggang's younger brother, Xingfeng. Tisk, I don't deserve to be called Third Master. My third uncle is still alive and well. If he hears that I dare to call myself Third Master, he will come and chat with me. Don't get me in trouble. Although he said this, Xingfeng's tone didn't have the slightest hint of fear. Instead, it had a hint of mockery. He continued, the Xing family's extreme yang burning sky technique must be uncomfortable. Do you want me to remove it for you? The people of the Xing family mainly cultivated the extreme yang burning sky technique, which was a heaven-tier mid-grade technique. At the beginning of cultivation, one's inner strength would be extremely hot. As one's cultivation level increased, the heat would also continue to increase. The truly terrifying thing was that this technique could only reveal its true power at the Exuvia realm. Its characteristics at other realms were merely its residual power. Thank you for your kind intentions, third young master. It's just one night. I can still take it. Kong Yutsung shook his head and rejected Xing Feng's kind intentions. He knew clearly that Xing Gang didn't remove the inner strength in his body because he wanted to punish him. Tonight was the punishment time. Tomorrow morning, Xing Gang would call him over to remove the inner strength in his body. That's fine too. Xing Feng smiled indifferently. Then, he leaned inwards and asked, "What do you think of my suggestion previously? Have you made up your mind?" Kong Yutsung frowned, a look of struggle appearing in his eyes. After a while, he opened his mouth and said, "This one thanks third young master for your appreciation, but second young master, he is a madman." Xing Feng interrupted Kong Yutsung. "What's so good about following a madman? In terms of cultivation, he's not good enough. In terms of aptitude, he's the worst out of the three of us. He's already at this age, yet he's still changing his blood. He's simply a piece of trash. It's fine if you're just a piece of trash, but you're so jealous. At that time, I only hit him once during the martial arts competition, but in the end, he still bears a grudge against me. It's been more than 10 years. At that time, he was 12 and I was only 10. Kong Yutsung was silent. He didn't know how to respond to this. He also knew what happened back then. This Xing Feng in front of him had injured Xing Gang's leg during the competition. As the winner's reward, Xing Feng received a pill. Because of this, Xing Gang had always borne a grudge in his heart. Seeing Kong Yutsung remain silent, Xing Feng stood up and said, "All right, since you don't agree, I'll ask again after a while." He turned and walked to the window. Just when Kong Yutsung thought that he was going to leave, Xing Feng suddenly turned his head and said, "The body refining hall's spring breeze and rain nourishing body technique requires that the person who cultivates it must have an extremely strong physique. However, he allowed you to cultivate it directly. A good man like you actually cultivated it to this state. You're really able to hold back your anger." Haha. A gust of wind blew, and only Kong Yutsung was left in the room. He reached out his hand and wiped the blood stain from the corner of his mouth. He slowly got up and walked slowly to the bed. He was too lazy to take off his clothes and directly lay down. Second young master, the next day. Zhou Fu looked at the letter in his hand and occasionally looked up at Jin Ping, who was standing below. The reply from the headquarters was too strange. "They want us to recruit people on our own. The headquarters will provide weapons and pills, and also provide us with 2 yellow-stage low-level secret manuals? Sir, before I left, Elder Kong of the sect instructed me to do so," Jin Ping replied. "Right now, in the Elysium, how many of the sect's brothers are there?" Jin Ping thought for a moment and said, "Including the remaining 6 from last night, in the Elysium, there are still 21 of the sect's brothers." Saying this, Jin Ping was afraid that Zhou Fu would have other ideas, so he continued, "6 of them are injured and need to rest for a month. As for the other 15 brothers, 1 is at the 2nd stage of the bone forging stage, 3 are at the 1st stage of the bone forging stage, and the rest are at the strength refining stage." The reason he said this was to express that the rest were all small fries, so please be magnanimous. 21 3-bone forging stage, that was still a bit too many. Zhou Fu muttered to himself for a moment, then ordered, "For the rest of the time, let's do things as usual." Jin Ping bowed and said, "This subordinate understands." Do things as usual, which meant that no one was to cause trouble. For the next period of time they had to be quiet. After Jin Ping left, Zhou Fu had people call for Huang Feng and Chen Guhong. He told them about the giant whale headquarters orders in the letter. Huang Feng and Chen Guhong looked at each other and said at the same time, "Sir, please give the order. The people behind the scenes who targeted your 2 clans have been found. The rest will be handled by the headquarters. Your 2 clans must take advantage of this period of time to reclaim your former businesses. If you encounter any problems that you can't solve, come find me. Yes. Also, it's convenient for you to have more manpower. The Elysium's manpower will be provided by your two clans in the future. At this point, Zhou Fu leaned forward slightly and handed a piece of paper full of words to Huang Feng. When the other party took it, Zhou Fu said, "Memorize the things on it clearly. We will start the plan in a month." The more Huang Feng and Chen Guhong read, the more shocked they became. When they finished reading, a layer of sweat appeared on their foreheads. Zhou Fu took the letter that Huang Feng handed back and said, "Memorize the things in your mind. You can go back to work." "Yes, we will take our leave." After the two left, Zhou Fu lit the paper in his hand and threw it into the teacup. Next, his main task was to cultivate. The spirit concentration pills he got from the headquarters last time hadn't been used yet. Zhou Fu gave himself a month to cultivate. In the following period of time, as Zhou Fu said, the culprits targeting the Huang and Chen clans disappeared. However, they discovered a few forces that wanted to fish in troubled waters. After Huang Feng and Chen Guhong reported to Zhou Fu, 2 large fires broke out that night. Since then, the Huang and Chen clans' businesses quickly recovered. A month later, in the training room, Zhou Fu, who was sitting cross-legged, opened his eyes. A faint layer of red quickly disappeared, followed by a faint golden light that flashed a few times before returning to normal. He pushed open the empty box in front of him. This was the box that stored the spirit concentration pills. The 10th meridian has already been opened, and half of the 11th meridian has been opened. If I have another 60 pills, no, 50 pills will be enough. I will definitely be able to open all 12 meridians and step into the bone-forging realm. Zhou Fu stood up. Although this breakthrough had allowed him to take another step forward, his mood had worsened. This feeling of being choked was too uncomfortable. "Sir." Jean Peng's voice came from outside the training room. "Come in." The door was pushed open and Jean Peng walked in. "Sir, a letter from the headquarters." Zhou Fu took it and opened it. A layer of red light floated in his eyes like a floating red cloud. He said in a low voice, "Are you anxious? It just so happens that I also want to move." Chapter 116. As Zhou Fu came out of seclusion, the Elysium, Huang Jia, and the Chen family all began to get busy. Figures began to rush about, pills and weapons were all distributed, and an aura of an impending storm pressed down. The golden crow set in the west, and the setting sun was like fire. In the study, Zhou Fu looked at Jean Peng, Huang Feng, and Chen Guhong in front of him and asked, "Have the invitations been sent out?" Jean Peng cupped his hands and replied, "My lord, the 4 shopkeepers next to the Elysium have all received our invitations, but no one has replied yet. It doesn't matter if they reply or not, as long as the invitations are delivered." Zhou Fu turned to Huang Feng and said, "The restaurant is closed today, clean up the 2nd floor for me." "Rest assured, my lord, everything has been arranged." "Good." Finally, Zhou Fu looked at Chen Guhong. Without waiting for Zhou Fu to speak, Chen Guhong hurriedly said, "My lord, the Chen family's guards are all in place, waiting for my lord's orders." After hearing that his 3 subordinates were all ready, Zhou Fu turned to look at the fiery clouds outside the window and said indifferently, "Next, we just have to wait." The flames in the sky slowly dissipated, and Jean Peng was already rushing to the restaurant. Although this time the invitations were sent out in Zhou Fu's name, the job of receiving guests still fell on his shoulders. When night fell, Chen Guhong stood up from his chair and bowed to Zhou Fu, saying, "My lord, the men are ready, they are in the courtyard 2 streets away from here." When Chen Guhong finished speaking, Huang Feng also stood up. "My lord, this subordinate has already sent people to the restaurant chefs' houses, they should have already been invited by now." Zhou Fu nodded and instructed, "Calm them down. Don't hurt them." "My lord, please don't worry. We'll treat them well. As long as they don't leave the courtyard, everything will be of the best quality." "All right, I can rest assured with you guys in charge." As soon as his voice fell, Zhou Fu displayed his movement technique. He borrowed the force from the windowsill and flipped over, instantly disappearing into the night. Huang Feng walked to the window. He took out a handkerchief from his sleeve and wiped the footprints on the windowsill. He sighed and said, "Old Chen, what do you think of our lord? Don't be rude to me. I'm from the same generation as your father." Chen Guhong rolled his eyes. "Hey." Huang Feng smiled and teased. "Then Uncle Chen, you should also find a young talent like me from the Chen family. It is so tiring for you to personally take care of it every day." "You can shut up," Chen Guhong angrily scolded. How could he not want a younger generation to take care of it? He didn't want to work with a younger generation like Huang Feng. However, the younger generation of the Chen family were all capable of doing things. They were not good at being people. They were all stupid. As for the smarter ones, they were all killed by Zhou Fu. As for how to evaluate my lord, Chen Guhong thought for a moment and said, "From the recent situation, he is strong and fierce, but not flexible enough." He shook his head, sighed and said, "But being strong and fierce is not bad. The difficult thing is to be strong and fierce all the time. This is already stepping into the devil path." "Devil path," Huang Feng shook his head and sighed. "My lord, the Jin family is in front." Zhou Fu walked down from the carriage and looked at the big house not far away. His eyes were calm. "Have you found the position of the Jin family's alchemist? Have you inquired about the situation inside?" "My lord, everything is under control," one of the Chun clan's guards replied. "The Jin family is the largest medicine merchant in the eastern part of the city. They had a deep relationship with my Chun family. This information was easy to get. There are 4 alchemists in the courtyard where the alchemists live. There are a total of 2 bone-forging realm guards and 10 ordinary guards. For a courtyard to be equipped with 12 guards, 2 of which were at the bone-breaking realm, was already very extravagant. In Zhou Fu's hometown, a big house only had 1 or 2 bone-forging realm guards. I will deal with the 2 bone-forging realm guards. You go and invite the alchemists here. If you encounter any obstructions, kill them." "Yes. Go." Figures flashed, their clothes fluttering. More than a dozen figures rushed into the Jin family's alchemist courtyard. "Who is it?" Just as Zhou Fu and the others landed on the roof of the courtyard, a loud shout sounded. This shout was like cold water being poured into a boiling pot of oil. The Jin family instantly boiled. Zhou Fu shouted in a low voice, "Split up and move quickly." After he finished speaking, he suddenly charged towards the bone-forging Imperial Guard in the middle of the courtyard. "Good thief, you dare to cause trouble in my Jin family." The newcomer held a long sword in his hand. As soon as he finished speaking, a white sword light spilled out and enveloped Zhou Fu. Humph! Insignificant skill. With a flash of golden light, Zhou Fu's body seemed to be covered in golden armor. Dang! 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 When the sword light fell, there was a series of clanking sounds. The golden armor covering Zhou Fu's body didn't even tremble. Not good. A great enemy! A great enemy is attacking. Seeing his sword light collapse, the person was shocked. He hurriedly shouted and called for help. At the same time, he quickly waved the long sword in his hand and laid out a sword light in front of him. Zhou Fu looked at the guard who was in midair and had no place to borrow strength. He could only rush towards him and grinned, "You really came to me." He punched out and a golden light shattered the silver-white sword light. Bang! With a golden sound, the long sword couldn't withstand Zhou Fu's huge force and shattered with a touch. How is this possible? The person only felt an unstoppable huge force. His sword move was instantly shattered. Then, the long sword also turned into scrap metal. A big hand grabbed at his head. The bone energy that he was proud of burst out, but it couldn't even hold on for a moment. It was torn apart by the big hand like paper. Zhou Fu's hand retracted and grabbed the person's throat. "Sir, spare my life." The person forced out a few words from his throat with difficulty. Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat. He was about to send out a palm to end this person's life. Suddenly, a cool feeling spread out from between his eyebrows. His mind became clear and the red veil covering his eyes disappeared. Humph! After a cold snort, Zhou Fu smashed his fist down and broke the guard's sternum. Then, with a flick of his right hand, he threw the person far away. Tonight, he was here to snatch people, not to kill people. I don't care what cultivation method you have. You're just a tool for me, Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu's eyes flashed with a cold light. He looked to the other side and saw a figure hurriedly fleeing. It was the other bone-forging guard of the house. Without the bone-forging guard's protection, the alchemists were all knocked out and brought here. Go! Not long after Zhou Fu and his group left, a mournful roar sounded in the sky above the Jin residence. "Thousand kill, evil thief! The Jin family is absolutely irreconcilable with you." None of this had anything to do with Zhou Fu. After returning to his residence, Zhou Fu looked at the time. There was still some time before the banquet would begin. In the study, Huang Feng and the other person were still waiting for him. Seeing Zhou Fu return, the two hurriedly stood up and bowed. "Sir, it's about time. I'll go change my clothes first. You two come with me to the banquet." "Yes." Chapter 117. Linjiang Restaurant was one of the two restaurants owned by the Huang family on the East Pier. This restaurant was near the Elysium and was chosen by Zhou Fu as the venue for the banquet. When the banquet arrived, the second floor of Linjiang Restaurant was empty. Zhou Fu sat at the table and leaned back in his chair, looking out the window. As the receptionist, Jin Peng was already sweating profusely. He couldn't sit still on the second floor and ran to the entrance of the first floor. From time to time, he would walk out the door to see if anyone had come to attend the banquet. The time had arrived and Jin Peng's heart was already taut. From Zhou Fu's aura, he was sure that something big was going to happen tonight. Is there still no one outside? Jin Peng looked at the waiter standing at the entrance and asked unwillingly. No. With his last shred of hope destroyed, Jin Peng walked to the second floor, looking back repeatedly with each step. When he reached the second floor and saw the figure sitting quietly in the chair, Jin Peng felt his heart tremble. "Sir, no one came." At this moment, the waiter ran up the stairs and said, "Sir, Manager Ma of the waterfront restaurant sent someone to deliver a letter." Jin Peng hurried over and took the letter from the waiter. He turned and walked to Zhou Fu's side. "Sir, this is Manager Ma's reply letter." Zhou Fu took the letter. Under Jin Peng's shocked gaze, he held it in his hand and rubbed it hard. Fine powder fell from between his fingers. "Sir, this," after the letter was completely reduced to powder, Zhou Fu clapped his hands and stood up from the chair. He walked downstairs and ordered, "Let them rest. I'm going back to the Elysium." Seeing this, Huang Feng and Chun Guhong hurriedly followed. When the three of them walked down the stairs and out of the restaurant, the Elysium guards on the first floor became anxious. One of them ran up to the second floor. On the second floor, he strode over to Jin Peng and asked, "Shopkeeper, what do we do now?" They had all seen the expression on Zhou Fu's face when he left. At this moment, Jin Peng's face was full of conflict, so much so that his whole face was wrinkled. "Lord Jin," the guard at the side growled. This time, Jin Peng was so scared that he trembled. He gritted his teeth and said, "Let the brothers follow. Tonight, even if you ask us to jump into the river, we won't even frown for a second." Yes. The guard was overjoyed. He turned around and rushed down the stairs. "Brothers, grab your weapons and follow the Lord." Walla lala. More than a dozen silhouettes rushed out of the restaurant and followed Zhou Fu's carriage. Ever since the battle between Zhou Fu and the Huang and Chun clans, they clearly felt that they had been abandoned. Especially when they knew that the giant whale's headquarters had ordered Zhou Fu to recruit people on his own. This made them panic. If they waited for Zhou Fu to recruit people, it would be the day of their death. None of them dared to doubt Zhou Fu's murderous intent. Therefore, these people discussed in private to let Jin Peng find an opportunity to fight for a way out for these old Elysium people. After a few days of discussion, they came to understand one thing. To Zhou Fu and the headquarters, none of them were essential. If they wanted to live, they had to show their worth and not put on airs as old people. Lord, shopkeeper Jin is following us. A guard came to Zhou Fu's carriage and whispered. Ha ha! Zhou Fu laughed and ignored him. He only said, "It's fine, let's continue." Yes. The Elysium was very close to Linjiang restaurant. It was only a street away. When Zhou Fu's group arrived at the Elysium, he got off the carriage and looked at the restaurant. Lord, what should we do next? Jin Peng took the lead and came to Zhou Fu's side. He saw the Huang Jia and Chen family's guards walking towards them. If he took a step forward, he might lose his job again. Zhou Fu looked at Jin Peng and then looked at the Elysium's guards. He smiled and was about to say something when one of the guards walked out. He cupped his fist and said, "Lord, please give the order. We will bring these blind dogs to you." Not only Zhou Fu, but even the people around him were stunned. They thought that these people would give in, but they didn't expect it to be so direct. "Lord, please give us a chance." After the guard finished speaking, the people behind him also shouted, "Lord, please give us a chance." This scene shocked the surrounding people, and they hurriedly hid to the side. Ha ha! Zhou Fu laughed. He turned and walked towards the Elysium. He said, "Then I will give you a chance. Let me see how you are going to take advantage of it." "Thank you, Lord." After Zhou Fu walked into the Elysium, the guards also turned and walked towards the restaurant. These people know how to look for opportunities. Huang Feng looked at the backs of those people and smiled at Jin Peng. Then, he continued, "However, aren't these people afraid of the giant whale's wrath?" Hearing this, Jin Peng smiled bitterly and explained, "So what if they are afraid? So what if they are not?" At this moment, the guards of the Elysium pulled out their long swords and rushed into the restaurant aggressively. Then, there were angry shouts and screams from inside. The Golden Rock exhaled and said, "Dying today is not the same as dying a few days later. They just want to live a few more days. Moreover, they may not necessarily die in the future." He looked at Huang Feng and said with a mocking tone, "The two of you should be familiar with this feeling." Although Huang Feng and Chen Guhong were angry, they were silent. "Life or death, it is not up to you to choose," Huang Feng said and then walked towards the Elysium. Chen Guhong also followed. The Golden Rock took a step forward and retorted, "We all know this, so we are fighting for an opportunity, a chance to live." Everyone present had personally experienced Zhou Fu's ferocious might. That shocking killing intent and ice-cold gaze that pierced directly into one's heart were like a nightmare that couldn't be erased from their minds. This was also the reason why they obediently listened to him. In the backyard of the Elysium, in a quiet courtyard, Zhou Fu looked at the four middle-aged men in front of him. These people were the ones who received his invitation today. "I invited you to a meal with good intentions, but no one came. What arrogance!" Zhou Fu snorted. "Since you don't want to accept the toast, then this cup of punishment, whether you are willing or not, you will have to drink it." The manager Ma of the waterfront restaurant struggled for a while. Among the four people, he was the only one who replied to Zhou Fu's letter. At this moment, his shoulders were pressed from behind. He could only raise his head and stare fiercely at Zhou Fu. He opened his mouth and scolded, "Ignorant brat, how dare you? Do you know what you are doing? You are courting death." Chapter 118. How dare you? The guard's eyes widened as he slapped Manager Ma's face. A few bloody teeth flew out of Manager Ma's mouth. "Little brat?" This word stunned Zhou Fu for a moment. Then, a burst of evil fire surged in his heart. At this moment, he remembered that he was only a teenager. There was still more than a year to go before he turned 18 years old. But now, he was being inexplicably forced by a group of people. They were forcing him to keep moving. As he thought of this, the light in Zhou Fu's eyes was like the northern wind in the cold winter night. It was a coldness that penetrated his cotton clothes and reached his soul. He looked at the guard who had just hit him and said, "Ask them to hand over the title deed. You will be the leader of the guards here." "Thank you, sir." Under the envious gazes of the group of people, the guard led the 4 gagged shopkeepers out. After the room quieted down, Jin Peng asked softly, "Sir, do you have any orders?" Zhou Fu didn't even think about it and said directly, "After we get the title deed, tear it down and rebuild it." This answer made Jin Peng smile bitterly. He said, "Sir, these restaurants at the East City Pier all have people behind them. Even if we get the title deed today, there will be a lot of things to do later." Zhou Fu obviously knew about this, but he also had a reason to take action. In the headquarters of the giant whale, there was a group of people who didn't want him to have a peaceful time. So, he wouldn't let them have an easy time. As the giant whale's ambassador, Zhou Fu robbed other people's restaurants. The people behind those restaurants would definitely think of the giant whale first, and then Zhou Fu. On a deeper level, Zhou Fu also wanted to use this matter to test the bottom line of Xing Gang and the others. If Xing Gang only reprimanded them, it meant that the power behind these restaurants was not good enough. Then, Zhou Fu could secretly eat them up. If Xing Gang gave in, then he wouldn't suffer too much loss in a short time. After all, there was still sure long waiting for him to deal with. In this way, Zhou Fu would not suffer any losses. In fact, he could even make a profit. After an hour, a guard came in with a few pieces of paper in his hand. "My lord, here are 3 deeds." The shopkeeper of the drunken guest house said that the deed to the restaurant was not in his hands. This subordinate broke his 4 limbs but was still unable to obtain the deed. It seems that what he said was true. Zhou Fu took the deed and handed it to Jin Peng, saying, "You go and prepare first. Deal with the things in these 3 restaurants." "Yes." After that, Zhou Fu turned around and asked the guard, "What's your name?" The guard was immediately overjoyed and excitedly said, "My lord, this lowly one is called Duan Cheng." "Good, Duan Cheng. From today onwards, you are the leader of the Elysium's guards." "Thank you, my lord. This lowly one will definitely not disappoint my lord." Zhou Fu nodded and ordered, "Go and ask about the owners behind the 4 restaurants." "Yes." Duan Cheng turned around and left the room. Zhou Fu looked at Jin Peng and the other 2 and said, "It's getting late. You all should go back and rest." "Yes, we will take our leave." The next day, as Zhou Fu expected, he was the first to receive a letter of reprimand from the headquarters. After skipping through a lot of useless nonsense, the letter said that Zhou Fu should return the shopkeeper of the drunken guest house and take out 10,000 taels of silver as an apology. As for the other 3, the letter didn't even mention them. Finally, the headquarters directly made it clear that the Red Sea Gang on the docks of the eastern city had been very rampant recently. They wanted Zhou Fu to deal with them, or else they would reduce his supply of spirit concentration pills. Zhou Fu put down the letter and looked at Jin Peng, who was still waiting for his reply. "After you return, throw out the shopkeeper of the drunken guest house. As for the other 3 restaurants, quickly deal with them. Everything else will proceed according to the previous plan. Go." "Yes, my lord." After Jin Peng left, Zhou Fu got up and went to the training field to begin practicing the tyrannical whale fist. Ever since his last upgrade, he had comprehended many origin force technique. Although he understood these things, it was very awkward to use them. Simply put, he was an armchair strategist. He had a lot of theories but lacked practice. As an Earth-tier technique, the tyrannical whale fist wasn't just a simple fist technique. It included a mental cultivation method, training method, and fighting method. The Flying Immortal's assistance was simple and crude. Anything that was used on the body would be directly upgraded. As for the fighting method and training method, it was separated into comprehension and memory, which were stuffed into Zhou Fu's mind. As for whether his body could be used skillfully, it was none of his business. Even worse was his inner force. After upgrading the technique, he only increased his comprehension of the technique. As for inner force, it was completely nourished by his powerful physique, which promoted the increase of inner force. This kind of increase couldn't even compare to Zhou Fu's own cultivation. This was also something that he had always been uncomfortable with. 10 days later, Chen Guhong came to Zhou Fu's residence with a small wooden box in his hand. His face was full of joy. "Milord, this is the first batch of spirit concentration pills. This subordinate has already had someone test it. It can increase the effects of cultivation by 30% in the bone-forging realm." Zhou Fu raised his eyebrows. His eyes shone brightly. He couldn't wait to open the box. When he saw the pills wrapped in wax, his face bloomed with joy. In the past 10 days of cultivation, his 11th meridian had only increased by a little. If he continued at this rate, he wouldn't be able to break through to the 12th meridian without at least 2 months of hard work. "Good. You did very well." Zhou Fu closed the box and looked at Chen Guhong. "I'll go and test the effects first." After he finished speaking, he got up and walked into the technique practicing room and sat down cross-legged. He took out a spirit concentration pill from the box, broke the wax, and swallowed the black pill inside. A warm feeling spread from his stomach. As his blood and qi circulated, it accelerated the conversion of inner force. The effects of the pill lasted for 15 minutes. Zhou Fu opened his eyes and sighed. The spirit concentration pills in front of him were more than a grade lower than the ones that Xinggang gave him. "Sai, it's good that you have it. I'll use it first. It's better than nothing." When he returned to the study, Chen Guhong was still waiting for him. Zhou Fu sat down and asked, "How many spirit concentration pills can you make each month?" "Sir, due to the limitations of the materials, I can only make 300 pills each month." 300 pills? That was too little. According to the current effects of the pill, he needed to consume at least 5 pills a day. Zhou Fu ordered, "Of the 300 pills each month, you keep 100 and send the rest to me." Chen Guhong was stunned and looked at Zhou Fu in surprise. He originally thought that he would give all 300 pills to Zhou Fu. He didn't expect that he would leave 100 pills for himself. "For the remaining 100 pills, your Chen family will take 50, and Huang Jiao will take 50. As for the cost of the materials, you will split it in half." "Thank you, sir." Chen Guhong hurriedly thanked him. He knew the value of these pills. Before he had come here, after he had tested the pills, the eyes of those bone-forging masters had shined. If it weren't for Zhou Fu's ferocious might, these people definitely wouldn't have let him take away all the spirit-condensing pills so easily. Pay more attention to the alchemy materials. Increase the quantity. If there's anything you can't solve, remember to report it. "Yes." "Go." After Chen Guhong left, Zhou Fu picked up the pill box and walked into the training room again. Chapter 119. More than 10 days later. Zhou Fu sat in the courtyard, squinting his eyes comfortably. After a few days of cultivation, with the help of the pills, he had opened up the 11th meridian. His inner force and qi and blood had increased once again. The only drawback was that his body mass had increased, so much so that the tables, chairs, benches, and even the bed had all been replaced. At this time, the 3 restaurants around the Elysium had been demolished and turned into a huge construction site. According to Zhou Fu's plan, he wanted to turn this place into a huge money-squandering den, bringing him a lot of money to exchange for cultivation resources. He wanted to reach a safe realm before Xinggang made a move on him. At the very least, he needed to start with blood replacement. "I have to find a way to get some medicinal pills from Xinggang. The medicinal pills made by the Chun family are still not as effective." Just as Zhou Fu was thinking and planning for the future, Jin Ping ran in a panic. "Sir, something happened at the construction site." Zhou Fu looked at Jin Ping and asked, "What happened?" Last night, a group of men in black rushed into the construction site, injured the supervisor, and destroyed a part of the shelves. They only left after the guards arrived. Did they fight? Jinping shook his head and said, "No, those people immediately withdrew when they saw the guards. Their movements were very fast, so the guards couldn't keep up. It seems that their purpose was to cause destruction." Zhou Fu pondered for a moment and asked unwillingly, "Did they leave any traces? If something was broken, it could be rebuilt, but if people were injured, it would be very troublesome. Moreover, if this kind of thing wasn't solved and happened a few more times, those workers would run away out of fear. This was the most fatal thing. No, their hands and feet were very clean. Trouble. It was really troublesome." Zhou Fu sighed and said, "Prepare a room for me near the construction site." "Yes," Jinping replied, then asked, "Sir, should we arrange for more guards to patrol?" Zhou Fu was about to refuse when he suddenly remembered that something like this had happened at the construction site. Normal people would arrange for guards to patrol the area. It would be strange if they didn't. "Make the arrangements as you see fit." "Yes. This subordinate will go and prepare first." Night. Zhou Fu was practicing his stance in the room Jinping had prepared for him. He guided his blood and qi, and according to the training method of the tyrannical whale fist, it kept surging towards the horse of blood and qi. The two blood-red ponies, after being nurtured by Zhou Fu for more than 20 days, had a faint red light flowing around their bodies. They were crystal clear and very beautiful. Time slowly passed, and it was already the latter half of the night. Zhou Fu felt sleepy and said to himself, "Could it be that he's not coming today?" If that was the case, then this matter was even more serious. As the saying goes, one can be a thief for 1,000 days, but one can also guard against thieves for 1,000 days. Don't let me find out who did it. A cold light flashed in Zhou Fu's eyes. Even at dawn, that group of people still did not appear. Moreover, because of what had happened the day before, the workers at the construction site did not sleep well, resulting in a drop in efficiency the next day. "Sir." Jinping stood in front of Zhou Fu with a face full of guilt. "No matter." Zhou Fu waved his hand and interrupted Jinping's apology. He said, "Leave this room here, I'll come back tonight." Yes. That night, all of Zhou Fu's energy was focused on the detection of the thief. For him, this consumed a lot of energy. As soon as he returned to his residence, he fell asleep immediately. This sleep lasted from morning until dinner time. After waking up, Zhou Fu still felt a little groggy. After washing up, he felt a little better. "Young master, do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?" Just as Zhou Fu was eating, Jin Zhu, who was serving him, looked at Zhou Fu's tired face and asked worriedly, "I'm fine." Zhou Fu smiled faintly and shook his head. "It's all that Jinping's fault. He didn't do his job well, and made young master put in so much effort." Jin Zhu's complaint stunned Zhou Fu. He suddenly felt that he was very stupid. Why did he have to detect the thieves? If the wooden frames were broken, then so be it, he could just rebuild them. All he had to do was take them down when they were destroying them, then everything would be fine. Sigh. So stupid. After thinking it through, Zhou Fu felt much more relaxed. After eating, he took some qi deposition pills and went to the backyard of the Elysium. "I'll just treat it as working the night shift." After comforting himself, Zhou Fu swallowed a qi deposition pill and closed his eyes to cultivate his inner strength. Another night passed, and still nothing happened at the construction site. At this time, Zhou Fu was full of energy. During the night, not only did he cultivate for 2 hours, he even slept for a long time. Let's just wait. For Zhou Fu, it was just a change of place to cultivate. Other than that, it didn't affect him much. Just like that, 5 or 6 days passed. The construction site was operating at full capacity again. The few injured supervisors also came back, and the haze in the hearts of the workers was dispelled by more than half. "Everyone, work hard. Shopkeeper Jean has prepared meat for us, and he also said that he will give us meat every night. During dinner time, a supervisor shouted to the workers who were eating meat. The people who were immersed in the dried meat nodded excitedly. Night. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. Zhou Fu, who had finished cultivating, was preparing to go to bed. Suddenly, there was a shout from next door, and the sound of something heavy falling. "They're here." Zhou Fu's eyes flashed. He rushed out of the house, jumped up, and rushed into the construction site. Under the moonlight and the lit lanterns, he saw 7 or 8 figures destroying the construction site. "I've finally caught you." Inner strength surged, and a golden armor covered his body. In the night, a golden light suddenly appeared. "Trash, take my fist." His voice was like thunder, and the men in black were shocked and turned their heads. "Let's go," one of the men in black shouted. He didn't want to be entangled with Zhou Fu, and turned to leave. How could Zhou Fu let them have their way? His figure flashed, and he caught up with one of them. His fist was like a golden pestle striking a bell, and it instantly shattered the man's inner strength protection. The man was sent flying with blood spurting out of his mouth. "Not good. Go save him." The leader of the men in black suddenly turned and rushed toward Zhou Fu. 2 more men in black followed closely behind, and the others turned to save the man. 3 palms with green clouds floating in the air struck, and the tyrannical inner strength sealed off the space Zhou Fu could move. Facing the attack, Zhou Fu grinned, and his eyes were cold, which made him look particularly ferocious. "You have the guts to destroy my stage, but you don't have the brains to ask about me. You actually dare to fight me head-on?" Bang bang bang! 3 attacks fell on Zhou Fu's body, and suddenly, rings of inner strength exploded and rolled out in all directions. After the 3 men succeeded, they didn't stop attacking. 3 people, 6 arms, and constantly attacked. Zhou Fu suddenly punched 3 times. Under the night sky, above the construction site, 3 golden fist shadows dispersed the green clouds, and 3 figures were smashed and sent flying. Chapter 120. After the 3 of them landed on the ground, before they could even react, a golden light flashed past them. The Wisdom King's scripture had the effect of sealing inner strength, and was injected into their bodies, sealing their inner strength. Under the effects of their injuries, the 3 of them fell to the ground, unable to move. The remaining men in black, who were going to rescue the other person, stopped in their tracks and stood in the middle. They were caught in a dilemma. Who should they save first? Zhou Fu's combat power was too shocking. Should they save the other person or run away? This was another problem. At this moment, a large group of Zhou Fu's guards rushed over. The men in black did not hesitate and leaped into the air. After using the wooden frame as leverage, they landed on a distant roof. After a few more leaps, they disappeared into the night. Zhou Fu did not chase after them. He looked at the 4 men in black who were restrained by the guards and ordered the new head of the Elysium's guards, Duan Qing, I'll leave these people to you. Come find me after you've interrogated them. Yes, sir. Duan Qing replied and waved his hand. A group of guards took the men in black and left. The place they were heading to was the Elysium's torture chamber. The Elysium was not only a gambling den, but also one of the giant whale's bases. Naturally, it had a comprehensive set of facilities, such as a dungeon and torture chamber. After settling the matter, Zhou Fu did not leave immediately. Instead, he returned to his previous room and sat cross-legged, waiting for Duan Qing's news. Time passed little by little. The originally dark night sky began to brighten. Slowly, a white light appeared on the horizon, followed by the rising sun. Zhou Fu, who was sitting cross-legged, opened his eyes. He had been awakened by hunger. Thus, he walked out of his room and asked Jin Peng to prepare breakfast for him. As the head shopkeeper of the Elysium and the foreign affairs butler appointed by Zhou Fu, Jin Peng was quite capable. Knowing that Zhou Fu had not returned, he had already asked the kitchen to prepare breakfast. After Zhou Fu gave the order, plates of dishes were brought to the table. However, when Zhou Fu was halfway through his meal, Duan Qing walked in with a tired look on his face and a stack of papers in his hand. He came to the table and said, "My lord, this is the information I obtained from the interrogation. Please take a look." As he spoke, he placed the paper in his hand on the table. Zhou Fu nodded and pointed to the chair opposite him. "You've been busy all night. Sit down and eat something." Duan Qing, who was standing at the side, was excited. He never thought that he would be able to eat at the same table as Zhou Fu. He hurriedly said, "Your subordinate doesn't dare. Besides, this is what your subordinate should do. I'm not the only one who did this. My brothers also contributed a lot. It's fine. Sit down and eat." Zhou Fu turned to the maidservant beside him and said, "Let Jean Pring prepare some food and send it to those brothers." "Yes, sir." Just like that, Duan Qing sat down with trepidation and picked up his bowl and chopsticks to eat. The two of them ate, but neither of them spoke. During this time, Duan Qing's eyes kept looking at Zhou Fu with a nervous look on his face. Zhou Fu, on the other hand, only buried his head in eating. He didn't even look at the confession on the side. After a while, Duan Qing, who had something on his mind, really couldn't eat anymore. He simply put down his bowl and chopsticks and watched Zhou Fu eat. When Zhou Fu finished eating, the maidservant also removed the tableware on the table. At this time, Duan Qing was anxious and couldn't sit still. He looked at Zhou Fu and said in an anxious and cautious tone, "My lord, don't you want to look at the confession?" At this time, Zhou Fu was just about to send Duan Qing away, but when he heard the other party's question, he was stunned for a moment. He looked at the other party and then, under Duan Qing's surprised gaze, picked up the confession and looked at it. After flipping through 2 pages, Zhou Fu was so angry that he laughed out loud. The night attack on the construction site was actually not done by a single force. Those who were caught by Zhou Fu came from 2 different forces. At the construction site, Zhou Fu caught a total of 4 people. One of them died before he could ask anything because of his serious injuries. The other 2 only said that they were from the Red Sea Gang. When asked about other things, the 2 of them kept their mouths shut. In the end, when the interrogators weren't paying attention, they used a special method to commit suicide. The last person admitted that he was from the Jin family. It was the family whose alchemist Zhou Fu robbed. They were also a famous medicine merchant in Dongqing. And the person who died of serious injuries was also from the Jin family. At this time, the fun came. The other black-clothed men, that person actually didn't know any of them. Seeing this, Zhou Fu had the urge to roll his eyes. After reading a few pages of statements, Zhou Fu looked at Duan Qing and asked, "So, now there's only one left alive?" Duan Qing was scared out of his wits. He immediately rolled to the ground and knelt in front of Zhou Fu. He said in horror, "Please forgive me, my lord. Those people's methods are too strange. This is the first time I've seen them." Hearing this, Zhou Fu couldn't help but be curious. He asked, "What methods?" This subordinates group of brothers can be considered to have interrogated a lot of people. We've also heard a lot of stories about the underworld. Ordinary men of sacrifice would hide the poison in their teeth or under their tongues. But these people, they actually took the poison in advance. At this time, panic appeared in Duan Qing's eyes. Hiding poison and taking poison were 2 different concepts. Who could send out men of sacrifice of this level? Not only was Duan Qing puzzled, but Zhou Fu was also confused. In his memory, the only people who could do something like this were the giant whale's leader, Xing Gang, and the deputy leader, Shi Long. He had seen Xing Gang's men. Not only had he seen them, but he had also killed them. Logically speaking, now that Xing Gang had restricted Zhou Fu with the pill limit, he probably wouldn't send anyone else. Could it be Shi Long's men? Zhou Fu wasn't sure about this. He didn't believe that Shi Long could train such men of sacrifice. For the time being, excluding Xing Gang and Shi Long, Zhou Fu felt even more confused. He didn't seem to have provoked any more enemies, right? Among the giant whale, there were only 4 people who were friends with Zhou Fu. Among the 4, the first was Elder Wu, who was far away in Heiyang City. Then there was the leader, Xing Gang, and the deputy leader, Shi Long. The last one was the strange foreign affairs emissary, Zhao Wanshan, whom he met at the Chen family. That's strange. Zhou Fu shook his head and sighed secretly. He looked at Duanqing, who was still kneeling, and said, "Get up first. Since that's the case, it's not your fault." Duanqing was overjoyed and quickly thanked him. "Thank you, sir." Seeing Zhou Fu drinking tea silently, he knew that Zhou Fu meant to send him away. But how could he leave at this time? He hadn't said the most important thing yet. "Sir." Duanqing took a deep breath and said, "If I may be so bold as to ask, are we going to get back at the Jin family?" Zhou Fu looked at Duanqing in surprise. He thought for a while and didn't answer. Instead, he asked, "What do you think?" Duanqing said, "Sir, please leave this matter to us. We will definitely satisfy you. Although the Huang and Chen families have been subdued by you, they are still outsiders. My brothers and I are all giant whales men. We are loyal to you and will never betray you." Chapter 121. Duanqing cupped his fists and lowered his head, waiting for his fate to decide. Zhou Fu quietly looked at Duanqing, not saying a word. At this moment, he could tell that this Duanqing was recommended by the Elysium guards to show their loyalty to him. For a moment, Zhou Fu thought of many things. First, the Jin family. Since they made a move against him, no matter what the reason was, they would definitely retaliate. Moreover, the Jin family was a bigger medicinal herb merchant than the Chen family. Just thinking about the benefits they would gain would make one's blood boil. However, the appearance of this mysterious power cast a shadow over Zhou Fu's heart. An invisible enemy was the most vicious. He didn't know when they would pounce on him and bite him. "Sir." After a long period of silence, Duanqing's heart felt like it was being scratched by a cat. Thus, he mustered up his courage and called out softly. Seeing Zhou Fu raise his head, Duanqing said, "As long as Sir says the word, we will definitely make the Jin family suffer." Following these words, a light flashed through Zhou Fu's mind. For a moment, many ideas emerged. "No need." A faint smile appeared on Zhou Fu's face. Under Duanqing's puzzled expression, he said, "Go find Chen Guhong and tell him that I told you to cooperate with him to find the Jin family's trade route. The most important thing is to find those medicinal herb fields." At this point, the information about the Jin family that the Chen family gave him appeared in Zhou Fu's mind. The Jin family was different from other medicinal herb merchants. Not only did they have their own trade route, but they also had their own medicinal herb field. However, the location of these medicinal herb fields was extremely hidden. No one had ever found them. Others couldn't find them, but that didn't mean that Zhou Fu couldn't find them. He didn't need to be like the others, secretly following the Jin family's caravan or bribing the Jin family people. He didn't need to do any of these. What Zhou Fu wanted was not gentleness, but brute force. Cooperate with Chen Guhong. After you find out the Jin family's trade route, kill their caravan. Zhou Fu's body moved forward slightly, emitting a faint sense of oppression. He continued, "Don't worry about anything else. Just keep an eye on them and kill them. Kill them until they change their route, then find another one. Within 3 months, I want the Jin clan to have no way out." "Yes." Duanqing was overjoyed and quickly accepted the order. "Go." After Duanqing left, Zhou Fu turned to look out of the window and asked a servant to call for Jin Peng. "Sir, you were looking for me?" Zhou Fu handed the confession in his hand to Jin Peng and said, "This is the confession of the men in black last night. Change it a bit. Say that the Red Sea gang members were all seriously injured and didn't take any poison." Jin Peng took the manuscript and quickly skimmed through it. At the same time, this strange order made him stunned. He couldn't help but ask, "Sir, what is the meaning of this?" Change the confession and tell the brothers not to talk nonsense. Then, make a copy of this confession and send it to the headquarters. Also, ask the headquarters for qi condensing pills, healing medicine, and other supplies. Don't ask anything else. Go. Yes. This subordinate will do it right away. After giving orders, Zhou Fu went home to rest and wait for the headquarters' reply. The next day, early in the morning, Jin Peng brought the headquarters' reply to Zhou Fu's residence and put a small package on the table. "Sir, this is the headquarters' reply to you. As for the other supplies, they have been handed over to your residence's housekeeper Ma." Zhou Fu opened the package and laughed. "Why give it to him? There's no need to do this. In the future, if the headquarters gives the Elysium things, just leave them in the Elysium. There's no need to take them to the residence." "Yes. This subordinate will remember." "Well, when you leave later, take the things with you." "Yes." The package was opened. As usual, there was a small wooden box inside, but this one was a bit smaller than last time. Seeing the situation in front of him, Zhou Fu sneered in his heart. The box was opened. This time there was only one layer. What entered his eyes was a piece of paper without an envelope. It was just placed on top of the pills. There was only one sentence on the paper: 1 month's supply. Taking off the letter, there were 20 pills wrapped in wax underneath. "Sir," Jin Peng said, "the brother who delivered the letter also brought an order from the gang leader to destroy one of the Red Sea Gang's businesses on the docks in the eastern part of the city." Zhou Fu nodded and instructed, "Go and check the information on the Scarlet Sea Gang in the vicinity. Send it to me." "Yes, this subordinate will take his leave." Evening. Zhou Fu, disguised as a lone traveler, arrived at the Chen family's alchemy place. This was the first time he had come here. "Sir, this is the place where my Chen family processes medicinal ingredient. It's not just alchemy. The production of other medicines is also completed here." Chen Guhong led Zhou Fu, explaining as he led the way. The two arrived in front of a large house. Chen Guhong said, "Sir, this is the place where the spirit-condensing pills are refined." After he finished speaking, he pointed to the surrounding rooms. "There are 2 bone-forging guards living here. They take 3 shifts a day to ensure that there is someone guarding this place at all times. As for safety, I ask Milord to be at ease." Standing in front of the house, Zhou Fu didn't want to go in. He took out a box. It was the box that the headquarters used to store the pills. He handed it to Chen Guhong and ordered, "There are 20 pills inside. You can study it and see if you can deduce the pill recipe." Chen Guhong took the box, but Zhou Fu's order made him hesitate. One had to know that the pill recipe wasn't so easy to deduce. There were too many things involved. Not only the medicinal ingredients, but the heat was also very important. Zhou Fu also knew about this. If they could deduce the complete pill recipe with just 20 pills, the status of these medicinal ingredient merchants wouldn't be so high. Therefore, Zhou Fu said, "Even if you can't deduce it, can you strengthen the existing spirit-condensing pills?" Chen Guhong's hanging heart relaxed. He nodded. This was still very likely, so he said, "This subordinate will do his best." Also, Zhou Fu thought for a moment and said, "Find some apprentices for these alchemists. Don't forget about this." This subordinate remembers. Now, every alchemist has 4 apprentices. They learn from them all day long. Zhou Fu shook his head. This wasn't what he wanted. Now, what he needed wasn't a few more alchemists, but a few assembly lines for alchemy. "Sir, did this subordinate do something wrong?" Zhou Fu said, "Those apprentices only need to learn the spirit-condensing pills." This? Chen Guhong was stunned. This request was too strange. As for the other pills, arrange for other apprentices to learn them. Chen Guhong, who came from a merchant family, instantly understood the meaning. He looked at Zhou Fu with more fear in his eyes. According to Zhou Fu's instructions, those people weren't alchemists at all. They were clearly alchemy puppets. Zhou Fu turned and walked towards the door. He continued, also, arrange for reliable people in the family to learn alchemy. Study the pill recipe. With the pill recipe and alchemy knowledge, it doesn't matter who refines pills. At most, they'll be inexperienced and spoil a few cauldrons of pills. Do you understand? This subordinate understands. At this moment, Chen Guhong lowered his head deeply. A layer of sweat appeared on his forehead. He thought to himself, what a vicious method! At the same time, he felt deeply sad for those who had just become alchemy apprentices. Chapter 122. At the door, Zhou Fu stopped, turned around and said, last time, our alchemist was killed, and the trade route was almost cut off. Also, the Jin family, their alchemist was kidnapped, and what is their situation now? I don't think I need to say these things, you should be very clear about them. Chen Guhong's heart tightened. He knew that Zhou Fu was talking about him. He quickly said, this subordinate understands Sir's painstaking efforts. In a while, I will arrange for the family to find a few clever children to learn alchemy. It's good that you understand. Zhou Fu nodded. It's a different matter to have the core in your own hands and to have it in the hands of others. If we lose the alchemist, we can find another one, but if we lose the knowledge, then it's really gone. This subordinate will keep it in mind. Chen Guhong hurriedly said. It's good that you remember. Also, don't tell outsiders about my visit. Yes. Following Chen Guhong, Zhou Fu arrived at the back door of the Chen family. Sir, take care. Zhou Fu nodded, went out the back door, and blended into the crowd. Looking at the closed back door, Chen Guhong stood there in a daze for a long time. Then, he turned around and walked into the depths of the Chen family. Although Chen Guhong was now in charge of the Chen family, in order to prevent him from doing anything rash, 2 elders from the other branches were chosen to disperse Chen Guhong's power. However, they were not against everything. After all, the people of the main branch of the Chen family died in front of these people, and they were even the ones who killed them. Every time he thought about it late at night, there seemed to be a trace of warmth left on his hands. If Zhou Fu's matter was delayed because of opposition, the Chen family might have to change blood again. Chen Guhong came to the meeting hall and asked people to inform the elders and the stewards of each branch to come for a meeting. Not long after, the large meeting hall was filled. More than 20 people sat there quietly. No one spoke, but an inexplicable heavy pressure was emitted. Chen Guhong took a deep breath and slowly swept his eyes over everyone's heads to relieve the pressure in his heart. Ladies and gentlemen, Chen Guhong slowly opened his mouth and looked at the crowd. By Mr. Zhou's order, today, we are to find the quickest members of the Chen family from each branch to learn alchemy. Although the people sitting in the hall were surprised, no one said anything. Guhong, the grand elder of the Chen family, said, "We will obey your orders, sir. I wonder if Mr. Zhou has any other instructions, in case our subordinates fail to live up to your expectations." "Yes." Chen Guhong nodded. He looked around and motioned for all the servants to leave. Only then did he open his mouth to speak. He repeated Zhou Fu's original words bit by bit, along with the deeper meaning behind them. It was a long time after Chen Guhong finished speaking that the people in the hall came back to their senses. The Grand Elder slowly said, "If that's the case, we will do as Mr. Zhou says. This kind of thing will only benefit the Chen family." After he finished speaking, he turned to Chen Guhong and said, "Guhong, it's best to let the Huang Jia know about this. After all, the Chen family and Huang Jia are both working for you, so we can't take all the benefits for ourselves." "Yes, Guhong understands." At this time, the second elder said, "Also, about the business route and the medicine field, we must also take Huang Jia into account. Let Huang Jia provide the manpower and share the benefits." He paused, then continued, "This isn't about taking all the benefits for ourselves, but Huang Jia's restaurant business will also be taken into account. As the saying goes, give me a peach and I'll give you a plum in return. This is the Chun family's return gift. The Grand Elder nodded with a smile and said, Gu Hong, let's do this as well. Chun Gu Hong thought for a while, then nodded and said, Gu Hong understands. I will visit Huang Jia later. At this point, Chun Gu Hong took a deep breath, then looked at the Grand Elder and asked, Grand Elder, I wonder if there are any smart young people in the Chun family? Just like. At this time, Huang Feng's shameless face appeared in his mind. Just like Huang Jia's Huang Feng. Although he didn't want to say it, he still said it. Ha 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 ha, the Grand Elder laughed, then said, I will keep an eye on this. Gu Hong, please work hard for a few more days. That's all I can do. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door, and everyone turned to look. Come in. The door opened, and the Chun family's housekeeper quickly walked into the hall and said, The servant reports that Mr. Zhou wants the family head to the Zhou mansion. Understood. This subordinate will take his leave. From the moment he came in to the moment he left, the housekeeper kept his head down. Chun Gu Hong stood up and said, If that's the case, I will leave first. As for the rest of the matters, I will have to trouble the two elders. The Grand Elder said, Gu Hong, please go. After we discuss it, we will report it to you. Thank you, Grand Elder. Zhou Mansion, Main Hall. Looking at Jin Peng, Huang Feng, and Chun Gu Hong who rushed over, Zhou Fu said, According to the thieves who attacked the construction site last night, they are from the Red Sea Gang. I have already reported this to the headquarters, and the headquarters wants us to counterattack. We must destroy one of the Red Sea Gang's outposts. After a pause, Zhou Fu continued, This time, I will lead the team. You three, tell me, how many guards do each of you have now? Jin Peng took a step forward and said, Let me go first. Currently, the Elysium has a total of 60 guards. Among them, there are 2 in the 3rd level of the Bone Forging Realm, and 18 in the 1st and 2nd levels of the Bone Forging Realm. Apart from the 10 guards guarding the Elysium every day, there are still 50 people available. Huang Jia has a total of 110 guards. 60 of them have only been training for 2 months, and they are all using the techniques provided by the Lord. Although they are all in the strength training realm, they can still fight against someone in the 1st or 2nd level of the Bone Forging Realm. Apart from these 60 people, there are 4 in the 3rd level of the Bone Forging Realm, and 15 in the 1st and 2nd levels. After saying that, Huang Feng nodded at Chun Gu Hong who was beside him. The Chun family has a total of 164 guards. 70 of them are like Huang Jia, and have only been training for 2 months. As for the rest, there are 8 in the 3rd level of the Bone Forging Realm. After hearing this, Jin Peng and Huang Feng both looked at Chun Gu Hong, their eyes filled with shock. They all knew that the Chen family had been the most ruthlessly slaughtered by Zhou Fu. The guards belonging to the Chen family had almost all been slaughtered by Zhou Fu. They didn't expect that the strongest force was actually the Chen family. Chun Gu Hong didn't stop and continued, 10 in the 2nd level of the Bone Forging Realm, and 20 in the 1st level. Hearing the three's report, Zhou Fu was very satisfied. His forces could be considered to have some foundation. Good. For this operation, each of you will send 1 in the 3rd level of the Bone Forging Realm, 2 in the 1st and 2nd levels, and 10 guards each. Yes. At this time, Jin Peng opened his mouth. Sir, isn't the number of people we sent a bit too little? Zhou Fu shook his head. It's not too little. This time we're going to destroy one of the Red Sea Gang's outposts. It's not like we're going to start a war with them. Why would we send so many people? Saying this, Zhou Fu's face revealed a trace of a mischievous smile. The headquarters already said that we're going to destroy one of their businesses. Then let's choose a restaurant. First, we'll beat them up, then we'll plunder their finances. Once we're done, we'll leave. Although it sounded like the style of a local ruffian, the three still braced themselves and accepted it. After the 3 of them went to prepare the manpower, Zhou Fu looked out the door and muttered, This method of creating a diversion is really tried and tested. Chapter 123. Night fell. Zhou Fu's figure kept flashing in the dark night, and the whistling wind blew past his ears. At this time, the flying dragon's 5 zigzags was used to the extreme, and it felt like he was riding the wind. This is the place. Zhou Fu stopped on the roof and looked at the spacious yard below. He tapped his feet and his body floated down. Unexpectedly, when his toes touched the ground, a loud voice sounded. "Where did this thief come from? How dare you come to my house and make trouble? Go to hell!" A loud crash was heard. A strong wind knocked the door open, and a big hand grabbed at Zhou Fu's forehead. Zhou Fu's eyes flashed, and he didn't say anything. He punched at the big hand. A violent force tore through the air and smashed into the other party's palm with a loud bang. After the blow, Zhou Fu stomped his feet and turned his fist into a claw. He grabbed the opponent's palm firmly, and with a huge force, he pushed the opponent into the room. "It's you!" The other party looked at Zhou Fu's face and shouted in bewilderment. Zhou Fu laughed mischievously. He swung his right hand and flung the man away. Then, he threw out another punch. A tyrannical fist wind rolled down and enveloped that person. "Good boy. I haven't seen you for a few days, and you've improved a lot." This person was Zhao Wanshan, and also the person Zhou Fu had always wanted to see. Facing Zhou Fu's punch, Zhao Wanshan didn't dodge, and also met it with a punch. The two of them seemed to have a tacit understanding, and only used their own strength. Bang! Zhou Fu's body shook, and he withdrew his arm with a faint smile. On the other side, Zhao Wanshan was not so relaxed. After the fist collided, in a trance, he felt as if he had been hit by a galloping horse. A huge force surged up and brought his body back. Bang, bang, bang! There were 6 footprints that were 2 fingers deep on the ground. Zhao Wanshan looked at Zhou Fu in shock and forgot to speak for a moment. "Foreign envoy Zhao, I came uninvited in the middle of the night. I hope you don't blame me." Zhou Fu cupped his fists and said. Then, as if it was his own home, he walked to the side and sat down. Zhao Wanshan grinned and shook the back of his hand that was hurting. He sat down and looked at Zhou Fu. "It's been a few months since we last met, right?" "It's been more than 3 months since we last met at the Chen family." 3 months. Upon hearing this, Zhao Wanshan's heart skipped a beat. He clearly felt that the current Zhou Fu was a completely different person compared to the last time he was in the Chen family. In the end, he used his inner strength to resolve the punch just now. This was something that Zhou Fu couldn't do 3 months ago. "Zhou Fuwei is really young and promising." Zhao Wanshan sighed and then asked, "What brings Zhou Fuwei here so late at night?" Zhou Fu didn't delay and went straight to the point. "Last time, I was fortunate to have Zhao Foreign Envoy's reminder. This time, I came here to thank you in person. In addition, I want to know the relationship between Zhao Foreign Envoy and the Body Refining Hall." After he finished speaking, he stretched out his palm and a layer of bronze color suddenly appeared on his skin. Just as Zhao Wanshan was looking at the bronze bell-like luster with emotion, a golden armor covered Zhou Fu's shoulder and covered the bronze luster. Zhao Wanshan was shocked. He looked at Zhou Fu with bright eyes and said in shock, "You practiced the Yellow Dragon's protective treasured technique to this level?" "Maybe," Zhou Fu replied ambiguously. At the same time, his arm returned to normal. This sentence made Zhao Wanshan's mouth twitch. "In the end," he said, "Zhou Fuwei, ask whatever you want to know. However, I may not tell you." In fact, Zhou Fu didn't want to know any historical stories. He just wanted to get some benefits from Zhao Wanshan, such as the Body Refining Hall's martial arts. However, he couldn't say this out loud. "I want to know the relationship between Zhao Foreign Envoy and the Body Refining Hall." "Body Refining Hall? Hee." Zhao Wanshan seemed to be helpless but also laughed mockingly. "You can just think of me as someone who was lucky enough to obtain some of the Body Refining Hall's cultivation techniques." Zhou Fu rolled his eyes at this kind of excuse. This kind of lie didn't even need to be fake. Everyone knew how fake it was. He retorted, "If Zhao Foreign Envoy says so, then we have nothing to talk about." He was about to get up. This time, Zhao Wanshan was anxious. It wasn't easy to meet a body refining hall disciple. He wasn't afraid that Zhou Fu was a fake. He knew that on the day of the disaster, someone ran out with the body refining hall's foundation. Among them, there was the Iron Bone secret scroll. He hurriedly said, "Don't. Actually, I'm also interested in Zhou Fei. I wonder if Zhou Fei can tell me where you learned this Iron Bone secret scroll? I bought it from the roadside." Just as he finished speaking, Zhou Fu suddenly remembered that he didn't seem to have paid for this martial arts manual. So he changed his words, "No, someone else delivered it to me." This time, it was Zhao Wanshan's turn to roll his eyes. This sentence was even more fake than his previous one. "Zhou Fei, you must be joking." Zhou Fu shook his head and said to himself, "As expected, no one believes me when I tell the truth." He looked at the sky. In a little while, the other side will launch a raid on the Red Sea gang. He still had to rush back to preside over it. Looking at Zhao Wanshan, he said, "Let's put aside whether or not I'm joking. If Zhao Foreign Envoy doesn't want to say it, then I won't force you. Just treat it as me coming here today to thank you for the matter last time. Goodbye." As soon as he finished speaking, he stood up and was about to walk out. Zhao Wanshan hurriedly stood up and reached out his hand to stop him. "Don't. Isn't this something that needs to be said slowly?" Hearing this, Zhou Fu was delighted, but he didn't show it. He stopped and turned around. With an impatient expression on his face, he said, "I still have things to take care of. I don't have the time to wait. If Zhao Foreign Envoy wants to say it, then say it. If you don't want to say it, then I won't force you." "You." Zhao Wanshan's face was full of struggle. He was like a monkey whose butt was roasted by fire, jumping up and down. Seeing this, Zhou Fu frowned. He felt that this person was strange, as if there was something wrong with his brain. After circling around a few times, Zhao Wanshan stared at Zhou Fu and said in a low voice, "Since you've practiced the Iron Bone secret scroll, then you should know the true dragon crouching art and Titan war body, right? Show it to me and I'll tell you." True dragon crouching art? Titan war body? Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat. He immediately thought of Bai Lang. He must have these two martial arts manuals. He had to find him. At this moment, Zhou Fu made up his mind. Under Zhao Wanshan's expectant gaze, Zhou Fu said, "I don't know about these two martial arts manuals. I've never heard of them." "How can you not have heard of them?" Zhou Fu really hadn't heard of the true dragon crouching art. However, he thought of the dragon crouching stance that Bai Lang had passed on to him. Therefore, Zhou Fu walked to the empty space, planted his feet on the ground, and assumed the pose of the dragon crouching stance. Instantly, a scorching aura was emitted. This was the phenomenon of the surging of blood and qi. True dragon crouching art. This is the true dragon crouching art. Zhao Wanshan's eyes shone brightly. However, at the corner of his eyes there were still sparkles. He seemed to be crying. Chapter 124. Facing a burly man with sparkling and translucent tears in his eyes, Zhou Fu was dumbfounded. He didn't even know what was going on. Just when Zhou Fu wanted to say something, Zhao Wanshan spoke first. "Didn't you say that you don't know the dragon subduing true art?" Zhou Fu shook his head and said, "I really don't know what the dragon subduing true art is. I don't care if you believe me or not, I only know this stance." Looking at Zhou Fu's expression that didn't seem to be fake, Zhao Wanshan's excited expression quickly dimmed. "So it's still lost." Sigh, Zhao Wanshan lowered his head and sighed. Suddenly, a bright light flashed in his eyes. Since Zhou Fu could learn this technique, it meant that there were still clues and hope. He raised his head and looked at Zhou Fu in surprise. "Zhou, you should still be able to find the dragon subduing true art. You still have a chance." Zhou Fu frowned and didn't answer directly. Instead, he asked, Can you tell me what the dragon subduing true art is? Zhao Wanshan nodded and walked to the side to sit down. At the same time, he gestured for Zhou Fu to sit back down. After that, he said, since you are also a successor of the Body Refining Hall, there's no harm in telling you. Back then, the Body Refining Hall had 4 pillars of divine technique. They were the foundation of the Body Refining Hall. They are 3 wheels origin transformation divine art, dragon subduing true art, giant spirit battle physique, and spring wind and rain body nourishing technique. Zhou Fu was stunned when he heard the series of names. Compared to the 3 wheels origin transformation divine art, the other 3 names were somewhat unpresentable. Especially the last one. It sounded like something like a fitness exercise. At this moment, Zhao Wanshan, who was immersed in his memories, didn't notice Zhou Fu's expression. He continued, these 4 techniques are all heaven tier. Moreover, they aren't ordinary heaven tier technique. At this point, Zhao Wanshan looked at Zhou Fu with bright eyes. Not ordinary? Could it be high-grade heaven rank? No. Zhao Wanshan shook his head and said, it's not that shallow. One had to know that most of the other heaven-ranked cultivation methods had many restrictions. Ordinary people were unable to cultivate them at all. However, these 4 techniques are different. As long as you have some talent, you can cultivate them. This explanation made Zhou Fu very puzzled. Isn't talent also needed? Zhao Wanshan seemed to know that Zhou Fu would ask this question. After all, he had asked the same question back then. He then explained, ordinary heaven-tier cultivation methods can be said to be 1 in 1,000, or even more exaggerated. As for these 4 cultivation methods, they are able to achieve 1 in 100. This time, Zhou Fu understood, but what followed was even greater doubt. If that's the case, then there should be a lot of experts in the Body Refining Hall. Why were they destroyed? A strange expression appeared on Zhao Wanshan's face. He looked at Zhou Fu and ridiculed, why are you still pretending in front of me? Didn't you come to Ning'an City at this time for that matter? The Body Refining Hall was destroyed because of that matter too. That matter? Zhou Fu's face was full of confusion. He was sure that this Zhao Wanshan had misunderstood him, so he frowned and said in a low voice, I think you've misunderstood. I don't know anything about this or that matter. This time, it was Zhao Wanshan's turn to be stunned. He looked at Zhou Fu in surprise and asked, then why did you come to Ning'an City? To escape. Zhou Fu replied matter-of-factly, my hometown is in Heiyang City. You don't have to say more. Heiyang City? Zhao Wanshan stood up in a flash. You're really escaping? What are you trying to say? Zhou Fu's tone was heavy. However, Zhao Wanshan acted as if he didn't notice and continued to ask, then why did you cause so much trouble? How the F***ck would I know? Zhou Fu was infuriated at the mention of this. On the first day I joined the sect, that sure long came to make things difficult for me. Then, one after another, they came looking for me. What could I do? Hearing Zhou Fu's words, Zhao Wanshan still didn't believe him. What's up with that murderous fist technique of yours? A cold glint flashed across Zhou Fu's eyes. He said in a low voice, our sect leader gave it to me. Damn it. Zhao Wanshan slammed his palm on the coffee table beside him. With a loud bang, it shattered into pieces of wood all over the floor. Streaks of blood appeared on his eyeballs. His expression was extremely ferocious. He growled, that bastard from the Xing family, my Body Refining Hall is already in such a state, but he still wants to kill us. At this moment, Zhou Fu was a little confused. However, he didn't want to guess, so he asked in a low voice, what exactly is going on? Zhao Wanshan looked at Zhou Fu. His eyes were filled with helplessness, anger, and a tinge of despair. Do you usually feel like your heart is on fire? Your chest is swollen, your blood is surging, and you want to fight or kill someone? Zhou Fu sat up straight. Other than the burning in his heart, He had all the other feelings, and they were all very intense. Looking at your expression, I know that you definitely have them. What's going on? Zhou Fu couldn't help but feel anxious when this matter concerned him. What's going on? Isn't this a common problem in our body refining hall? Zhao Wanshan sighed and leaned against the chair weakly. He said, our main cultivation technique is the most masculine and yang type. As our cultivation level deepens, the burning in our hearts will become more and more intense, thus affecting our cultivators. Is there no solution? Naturally, there is. The spring breeze and rain body nourishing art has the effect of calming the fire in the heart. Zhou Fu said, that kind of cultivation technique can't be practiced by just anyone, right? That's natural. Therefore, a senior simplified a cultivation technique from that cultivation technique, called the tranquil heart technique. It also has the effect of calming the heart. Oh! Zhou Fu instantly became spirited. You don't have to look at me. I don't know how to do it either. Zhao Wanshan explained, the tranquil heart technique can only be practiced by people above the bone forging stage. I was still practicing strength. Looking at Zhou Fu's somewhat disappointed expression, Zhao Wanshan said, I wanted to warn you not to practice the fire attribute or any cultivation technique with a strong killing intent. I didn't expect that Xinggang would actually dare to use underhanded methods, Zhou Fu suddenly asked. Does Xinggang know about this? Of course he knows. Zhao Wanshan sneered and said, how could he not know? Wasn't the spring breeze and rain body nourishing art taken away by the Xing family? What? Zhou Fu's eyes widened. Zhao Wanshan's body suddenly trembled. He quickly looked at Zhou Fu and said, Kid, don't be impulsive. Buddhist and Taoist cultivation techniques also have the effect of calming the mind. Let's not rush and slowly look for them. Zhou Fu suddenly asked, you just said that the fire in the heart is a common problem in the body refining hall. How did you deal with it? About this, I only practiced one fist technique. I didn't practice any other cultivation technique. This reason was very strong. Zhou Fu could only nod his head in agreement. Where can we find Buddhist and Taoist cultivation techniques? This. Zhao Wanshan was in a difficult position. Buddhist and Taoist cultivation techniques were not like ordinary gangs. Their cultivation techniques were hard to come by. There were too many experts, and it was impossible to snatch them. It was easy to say that if you met a big shot and were pleasing to the eye, they might give you a cultivation technique. Wasn't that what was said in the stories in the restaurants? However, he didn't dare to say this to Zhou Fu. It depends on fate. Zhou Fu was so angry that he laughed. What's the difference between saying it and not saying it? There is a difference. Zhao Wanshan said with a serious face, after all, there is still hope. Chapter 125. Since he had already said the word, leave it to fate, Zhou Fu had no reason to stay any longer. He stood up again and said, if that's the case, then I'll take my leave first. There are still things waiting for me to settle at home. Just as he turned around, a faint voice entered his ears. The source of the voice was Zhao Wanshan, who was sitting at the back. Zhou Fu stood still and listened attentively. This was a cultivation technique. It had a similar feeling to the essence chi wheel. As the chants of the cultivation technique came out of Zhao Wanshan's mouth, Zhou Fu was very sure that this cultivation technique and the essence chi wheel came from the same source. As the last sentence of the chants fell, the room quietened down. Just like this, Zhao Wanshan spoke after a short while, and his tone was filled with a sense of dejection. He said, Zhou Fu, this is a remnant chapter of the Three Wheels Origin Transforming Divine Art. It is called Essence Chi Wheel. It can speed up the cultivation of inner strength. You better leave this place quickly. In a few more days, this place will become chaotic. Zhou Fu did not care about the words of concern at the end of the chants. Or rather, he could no longer hear them. The notification of the Flying Immortal's assistance sounded. Ding! Detected cultivation technique essence chi wheel. Cultivation technique has been successfully loaded. Zhou Fu did not hesitate. Upgrade. Ding. Essence chi wheel has been successfully upgraded. Essence chi wheel. Level 1, strengthened absorption level 1. Special effect, inner strength conversion. Streams of hot air appeared at his lower abdomen, forming a ring. It was like a hot towel covering his lower abdomen. It was so warm that it was uncomfortable. At the same time, an inch below his navel, the muscles and skin there began to vibrate. Below it, a strange dot appeared. It was like the Yang Ming wheel of the Essence Chi wheel. But Zhou Fu could not help but tremble. A circular strange dot that looked like a wheel appeared. Sea of Chi wheel. Looking at the notification of the cultivation technique, Zhou Fu knew the name of the dot. The Sea of Qi wheel rotated slowly. Tiny threads of qi and blood were guided by it and flowed into it. At this time, Zhao Wanshan thought that Zhou Fu was stunned by his sudden action. He smiled and said, "Brother Zhou Fu, you don't have to be like this. We're all family. I can still help you if it's within my ability." He knew that Zhou Fu should be one of the elders who had escaped. He was a genius chosen by the elder and could be considered as one of the seeds of the body refining hall. Therefore, he would not be stingy with an incomplete cultivation technique. Instead, he could let him do him a favor. In this world, there were not many fools, especially those who were left behind by the body refining hall. Furthermore, they were still sitting in such a high position in the giant whale, so they were not fools. After a while, he saw that Zhou Fu was still standing there. He couldn't help but feel suspicious. However, just as he was about to call out to Zhou Fu, a strange aura emerged from Zhou Fu's body. In the blink of an eye, long and narrow streaks of red mist emerged like bamboo shoots after the rain. This is... Zhao Wanshan was familiar with this scene. Wasn't it when he had perfected the strength training and broke through to the bone-forging stage? He broke through with an incomplete cultivation technique? Zhao Wanshan's eyes widened. Crack! A crisp sound of bones came from Zhou Fu's body. Then, a series of crisp sounds followed closely. It was like a broken ice surface. A crack caused the entire ice surface to collapse. Roar! A low roar came from Zhou Fu's mouth. Hot air rushed out and his body began to grow. In the blink of an eye, he was more than 2 meters tall. At this time, the room was filled with the faint smell of blood. My God, what kind of cultivation technique is this kid practicing? Why do I feel like he's a big devil? Under the red mist, there was a faint golden light flowing under Zhou Fu's skin. However, this scene was blocked by the red mist. Zhao Wanshan could not see it. Crack! Crack! There was another dense sound of bones. Zhou Fu's tall body began to shrink until he was more than 1.8 meters tall. A long breath came from Zhou Fu's mouth. Then, the light red mist returned to his body like a bird returning to the forest. At this time, his auxiliary page showed, Essence Chi Wheel, 3rd level, Strengthening Absorption Level 3, Special Effect, Internal Strength Conversion. His status value also fell to 72. Zhou Fu's HP was directly reduced by more than 30%. Moreover, the Yang Ming wheel was also emptied. You broke through to the bone-forging stage? Zhao Wanshan asked in disbelief. Zhou Fu turned around and smiled at Zhao Wanshan. Thank you, Zhao. At this time, it was somewhat inappropriate to call Zhao Wanshan external envoy. However, he could not think of a suitable title for a while. Seeing Zhou Fu's expression, Zhao Wanshan instantly understood what the other party was thinking. He smiled and said, I'm a few years older than you. If Brother Zhou doesn't mind, you can call me Big Brother Zhao in private. Big Brother Zhao. Zhou Fu cupped his hands and thanked him. Thank you, Big Brother Zhao, for teaching me. It helped me break through the training stage and reach the bone forging stage. Although Zhao Wanshan was already certain in his heart, he was still very shocked when he heard Zhou Fu admit it himself. You are really a genius. Zhou Fu smiled and did not speak. This breakthrough was not as easy as it seemed on the surface. Until now, the breakthrough was still abnormal. The internal strength that was originally flowing in his meridians had now covered his bones. It was squeezing inside little by little. It felt like practicing the iron bone secret scroll. Moreover, the density of this internal strength was even greater, forming a cloud. This was the unique internal strength characteristic of the bone forging stage. At the same time, the body tempering from breaking through the 12th meridian was also in progress. Under Zhou Fu's calm expression, the strengthening process was going on like a stormy sea. At this moment, Zhao Wanshan said in a deep voice, "Brother Zhou, I still have to give you a piece of advice. If you can escape, you must not hesitate." "Thank you, big brother Zhao, for reminding me. This little brother will remember it." Zhao Wanshan looked at Zhou Fu with regret. He lowered his head and sighed. "It's a pity that I didn't obtain any real inheritance. Otherwise," sighs suddenly, he raised his head and said, "Oh right, if I remember correctly, the 3 wheels origin transformation divine art was split into 3 parts. One part was taken away by the elder who escaped, and the other part seemed to have fallen into the Red Sea gang." After saying that, he looked at Zhou Fu seriously and reminded him, "Brother Zhou, promise me. If you haven't cultivated to extraordinary stage 5 or above, you must not challenge those aristocratic families. Our gang leader is from the Xing family. Behind the Red Sea gang is the Zhu family. You must remember it in your heart." Xing family, Zhu family. Zhou Fu nodded and thought to himself, seems like this is the second culprit that caused the destruction of the body refining hall. After shaking his body, Zhou Fu felt that his meridians were somewhat heavy. He knew that this was a negative feeling because the strengthening of his body did not keep up with the increase in internal strength. Thus, he said, "It's already late tonight. I won't stay any longer. This little brother will take his leave." After saying that, without waiting for Zhao Wanshan's reply, he tapped his foot and rushed into the night. Chapter 126. Within the Elysium, the people who were already prepared saw Zhou Fu walk out of the room. They hurriedly saluted and said, "Greetings, my lord." Jin Ping opened his mouth and said, "My lord, your subordinates are ready. We can leave at any time." "Good." Zhou Fu nodded, his expression calm and without a ripple. He looked at the crowd and said, "As the saying goes, it is impolite not to reciprocate. Since the Red Sea gang came to my territory to cause trouble, then today I will tear down one of their restaurants. Let's go." Seeing the group of guards leave through the door, Zhou Fu opened his mouth again, but this time he said to Jin Ping, "This time I will hide in the shadows. If the other side has experts, then I will make my move." "Yes." Without waiting for Jin Ping's voice to fall, Zhou Fu's figure disappeared from the scene. Jin Ping, Huang Feng, and Chen Guhong looked at each other. Without saying anything, they hurriedly followed the group. In the group at the front there were 3 experts at the 3rd level of bone training. After walking for a while, the bone forging expert from Huangjia looked around and whispered, "I don't know why, but why do I feel that the aura on my lord's body is a bit off? Be careful with your words." The Chen family expert shouted in a low voice. The other 2 turned their heads to look. With the help of the bright firelight, they discovered that the Chen family expert's forehead was already covered in a thin layer of sweat. At this time, the Elysium expert whispered, "Brother, is there a need to be like this?" The Chen family expert shook his head. He looked around and then withdrew his gaze. He also whispered, "You don't know, but on the day of the great change in the Chen family, I was there. Our Lord's killing intent that soared to the heavens, and that unstoppable figure, if I wasn't there, it would be hard to understand." As he said this, the Chen family expert shook his head and advised, "You too, if there is no need, don't talk about Lord's matters in private. Even if there is a need, just pretend that you are mute." Hearing the words of an expert at the same level as them, The Elysium and Huang Jia experts' hearts tightened. They nodded solemnly. "Thank you for your reminder, brother. Let me ask you one more time, how are we going to make our move?" The Chun family expert said, "Just follow Lord's previous orders. Charge in and kill, then let the group of servants rob things, and set the place on fire. Simply put, kill, rob, and leave." "Understood." The three people chatted for a while. At this time, they had already arrived at their destination. At this time, the restaurant belonging to the Scarlet Sea Gang was about to close. "Inns, S's, 10 people, standing 10, the Golden Rock said. "This place is very close to the Red Sea Gang's stronghold. In less than 15 minutes, their men will arrive. Let's end this quickly." "Do it." Following the order, dozens of people rushed out of the darkness and rushed into the restaurant. "You? Who are you?" With a scream, the prelude to the smashing began. "Impudent! Who are you? How dare you come to my Red Sea Gang and behave so atrociously?" A roar came from the restaurant. Outside the restaurant, the hearts of Jean Peng and the others sank. Something had happened. There were actually experts from the Red Sea Gang here. Elysium and the Chun family expert spoke at the same time. "I'll go and take a look." "Jean Peng, if something is wrong, tell the brothers to withdraw." "Yes." "Good." The two experts' figures flashed, quickly crossing a distance of more than 10 meters, and rushed into the restaurant. At this time, the sound of fighting in the restaurant was loud. At the same time, broken tables and chairs, broken windows, and fell on the street far away. The pedestrians in the distance cowered and hid, carefully standing by the wall or behind the pillars, looking over. Bastards! 2/3 stage bone-forging experts are actually willing to throw away their face and do something like smashing a restaurant. "Just who are you?" "Rumble." There was a loud noise, and a strong wind rushed out of the door and windows. There were also more than 10 figures in a sorry state. They were the subordinates sent to plunder the finances. "Withdraw." Seeing the subordinates withdraw, Jean Peng estimated the time and hurriedly gave the order. If they didn't leave now, it would be too late. After everyone withdrew, a window of the restaurant suddenly shattered, and a large amount of wood splashed out. At the same time, 2 figures rushed out from inside. "Go." At this time, Jean Peng and the others had already retreated. They scattered into several small teams, and retreated from the small alleys in all directions, toward the Elysium. A furious figure rushed out from the broken window. He looked hatefully at the 2 bone-forging experts and roared, "Shameful things, you still want to leave? Stay." This person fiercely swung his arms, and 2 black lights shot out. Hearing the sound behind him, the Chen family's expert's heart tightened, and a sense of danger shrouded his back. Not good. The Chen family's bone-forging expert turned around and pushed out with his palms. On the other side, the Elysium's bone-forging expert also stopped and turned around to counterattack. The two couldn't stop. They were in the air and had nowhere to borrow strength. Their opponent was also an expert. If they weren't careful, they might end up with serious injuries. Rumble. 2 waves of energy suddenly exploded. The 2 bone-forging masters were sent flying, and at the same time, their mouths emitted blood-curdling screams. The Red Sea Gang's expert also rushed over. He stretched out his hands and grasped the 2 black lights. With a sinister smile, he waved his arms, and a humming sound echoed in the air. The 2 black lights were actually 2 black truncheons. "Little thief, you didn't expect this, right? You want to leave after meeting 3rd Master Tong? It's the middle of the night. Are you still sleeping?" Hearing this person's words, the Chun family's bone-forging expert exclaimed, "You're the Red Sea Gang's Black Diamond, Tong Sanhuai." Tong Sanhuai was one of the elders of the Red Sea Gang. His weapon was a pair of black truncheons. When he waved them around, they were like 2 black dragons. Because of his large build, some people called him Black Diamond. "Ha ha ha ha. It's me." Tong Sanhuai stared at the 2 people in front of him with a pair of large eyes. He said, "Tell me who's behind you, and third master will give you a quick death." With that, his arms shook and a black light flowed on the truncheons. You've stepped into blood changing? How is that possible?" The Chun family's bone-forging expert was really scared now. Even if there were a few more bone-forging experts, they wouldn't be enough to kill a blood-changing expert. Yes. A month ago, third master just stepped into blood-changing. In this first battle, I met you too. It's really fate. Boom. A huge killing intent covered the sky, making the three of them feel like they were in the middle of the 12th lunar month. Black Diamond? What a big name. Tong Sanhuai's eyes widened and a powerful aura rose. He held the truncheons in front of him and shouted, "Another rat in the gutter! Come and die if you want to. Then let's see who dies." Before he finished speaking, a red cloud descended from above. Within the red cloud, the faint neighing of galloping horses could be heard. At this time, Tong Sanhuai laughed. "I was wondering what it was. So it's just a bone-forging expert. In your third master's eyes, you're just a dish." He raised his hands high, and two black lights smashed towards the red cloud. Die. Chapter 127. The red mist surged, and a golden light suddenly rushed out. Rumble! The golden fist and the two black lights collided. The energy roared like thunder on a sunny day, and the windows and doors of the surrounding houses were shaken. The two lights were in a deadlock for a moment. The black light advanced, and the golden fist was smashed back. The red mist flew back more than 10 meters, and then stopped. The mist quickly rolled and shrank inwards, revealing Zhou Fu in his golden armor. Behind Zhou Fu were the Qin family expert whose hands had been smashed by Tong Sanhuai, and the bone-forging expert from Huangjia. At this time, when the two saw Zhou Fu coming, they were first happy, then panicked. The Chun family expert hurriedly said, "My lord, this person is Tong Sanhuai, an expert of the Red Sea Gang. He's in the blood transformation realm. It's not easy to fight him." Zhou Fu was unmoved. In the fight just now, he felt that Tong Sanhuai's strength did not pose any threat to him. He had just broken through, and he needed someone to test his strength. "You two stay away. If anyone else comes, stop them." Looking at Zhou Fu's determined expression, the Chun family expert could only say, "Yes." He and the other person looked at each other, and the two quickly disappeared into the darkness. On the opposite side, Tong Sanhuai stabilized his body. He had just been forced back 2 steps by the explosion of energy. At this time, there were 2 clear footprints on the ground in front of him. "What great strength!" Tong Sanhuai said in a deep voice. "But you're in the bone-forging realm. You don't think that you can rely on your strength to beat me, a blood transformation realm expert, right?" He did not pay attention to the 2 bone-forging experts who had fled. At this time, his entire body's aura was locked onto Zhou Fu. A black light flashed, and Tong Sanhuai rushed over. 2 black lights drew 2 arcs from both sides of his body. With the force of a thunderbolt, they smashed towards Zhou Fu's head. Zhou Fu's golden armor shook violently. The originally blurry lines were now clearer. Under his skin, faint golden waves of light flowed, vibrating at a special frequency. Not only that, but within Zhou Fu's body, a large mass of pale golden mist turned into ribbons that wrapped around his bones. This kind of special method of cultivation was comprehended from the Iron Bone Secret Scroll after he broke through to the bone-forging stage. As the black light approached, Zhou Fu raised his fists and smashed them towards Tong Sanhuai. As for the jet-black double truncheons, he did not even look at them. Seeing Fu's desperate stance, Tong Sanhuai was filled with rage. "Who didn't know how to fight for their lives? Brat, you dare to be arrogant in front of me? Grandpa will send you on your way." Rumble! The 2 figures, one black and one gold, collided. Tong Sanhuai's eyes widened in anger as he smashed the 2 maces in his hands onto Zhou Fu's shoulders. Bang! Under the might of the 2 truncheons, the golden armor suddenly exploded. "Die! Just as the golden armor shattered, Zhou Fu's fists landed heavily on Tong Sanhuai's chest. A violent burst of power instantly shattered the protective inner strength on his opponent's body. The powerful force entered his chest and tore everything around it apart. Bang bang! Two muffled sounds. Zhou Fu only felt two huge pressures coming down from his shoulders. Then, two unstoppable waves of inner strength blasted into his body like a flood, rolling over the surrounding muscles and meridians. Even the qi and blood in his body were suppressed by the inner strength. Die! Tong Sanhuai roared. The two black lights rose again and smashed down heavily. Kill! Zhou Fu roared and punched out with his golden fist. A series of explosions erupted between the two. The surrounding ground and buildings were all affected. Rumble! With a loud bang, the two retreated at the same time. Tong Sanhuai's blood was boiling from Zhou Fu's punches. Blood flowed from his mouth, but he did not care. Instead, he widened his eyes and looked in shock at the young face behind the shattered golden armor. You, as an experienced member of the pugilistic world, Tong Sanhuai immediately adjusted his state of mind. A strong killing intent emanated from his body. This was the killing intent that he had accumulated after decades of fighting in the pugilistic world. I thought it was a little mouse, but I didn't expect it to be a big fish. Ha 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 ha. Tong Sanhuai confirmed in his heart that Zhou Fu was a young genius nurtured by a certain faction. Then, he could not let Zhou Fu leave. Otherwise, when he succeeded in his cultivation, the Red Sea Gang would not have a good time. Tong Sanhuai mobilized his inner strength and suppressed the boiling blood in his body. The truncheons in his hands were like long swords as he stabbed out. He looked like he was going to pierce through Zhou Fu. Humph! Zhou Fu snorted coldly. He took half a step back and smashed down with his fist. Clang clang! With two golden clangs, the truncheons were smashed apart. At that moment, a glint flashed in Tong Sanhuai's eyes. The truncheons that were smashed away suddenly turned around. A low hum sounded in the air as a black light lashed out at Zhou Fu's arm like a steel whip. Bam! Zhou Fu was instantly sent flying. Rumble! With a loud bang, Zhou Fu smashed through a wall and smashed into it. Tong Sanhuai rushed in and found Zhou Fu's aura. He swung his truncheons. Amidst the rising dust, a golden light suddenly bloomed. Not good. Tong Sanhuai held his truncheons horizontally in front of his chest and used the force of his forward charge to press down on the golden light. Rumble! A powerful force exploded, instantly dispersing the surrounding dust. At the same time, it also sent Tong Sanhuai flying. Zhou Fu stood on the spot and shook his arm. Tong Sanhuai's whip had injured his arm. His blood surged, and in the blink of an eye, the blood clots on his shoulders and arms were cleared. The injured areas were also quickly recovering under the nourishment of the eternal spring energy. Is this my current strength? No, my body is still transforming. I'm really looking forward to it. Zhou Fu stepped forward. With the protection of the bronze armor skill and the secret manual of iron bones, his body was only slightly injured. How is this possible? Looking at the unharmed Zhou Fu, Tong Sanhuai roared in shock. My truncheons have a force of more than 10,000 jin. How is it possible? How is it possible? More than 10,000 jin. Zhou Fu understood. His strength was close to 10,000 jin, and his body could withstand an attack of 10,000 jin. Any more and he would be injured. After figuring out his current situation, traces of red light flickered in Zhou Fu's eyes. Streams of red mist surged out, and the stench of blood and cold killing intent filled up the space within a radius of over 10 meters, enveloping the two of them. Since you've done me a favor, I'll let you experience my strongest punch. The red mist around Zhou Fu seemed to have a life of its own. It twisted crazily and condensed behind him. It kept rolling, as if there was something inside that wanted to rush out. Rumble! With a loud explosion, Tong Sanhuai instantly lost sight of Zhou Fu. At this moment, All the hair on his body stood on end. His many years of experience in Jianghu allowed him to wield the two truncheons brazenly. Two streaks of black light rolled around him like two black flood dragons. An extremely cold, killing intent descended from the sky. Tong Sanhuai suddenly raised his head. Suddenly, his body paused as a scarlet light penetrated his body. Clang! His legs fell to the ground. Then, Tong Sanhuai's sturdy body suddenly exploded, and the smell of blood filled the air. Chapter 128. You can come out now, Zhou Fu said as he turned to look at the darkness in the depths of the alley. As his voice faded, two figures rushed out of the darkness and stopped 5 steps away from Zhou Fu. The two of them stared in horror at the black ground beneath Zhou Fu's feet. It was a darker color than the surrounding darkness. Coupled with the lingering smell of blood in the air, Zhou Fu's figure made the two of them tremble with fear. Zhou Fu looked at the two and said, "This Tong guy was killed by the 3 of us together." His unquestionable tone made the two tremble. They hurriedly replied, "Yes, this person was killed by the 3 of us together." The master of the Chen family added, "Sir, you were seriously injured because of this, and both of our arms were almost broken. That was why we were able to kill this person." Then, he looked at Zhou Fu carefully. After seeing the satisfied expression on Zhou Fu's face, he was slightly relieved. He said again, "Sir, leave this place to us. You have internal injuries, so you should go back and recuperate." The other person also reacted and said, "Yes, sir. We have already sent a signal. Someone will come in a moment. Sir, you should go and treat your injuries first." "Okay, I will leave this place to you. As for the reward, I will send it to you tomorrow. 20 spirit concentration pills per person." The two were overjoyed. They hurriedly thanked him. "Thank you for the reward, sir. I will take my leave first." With that, Zhou Fu tapped his foot and pushed off the wall to flip onto the roof. Then, he used his movement technique and disappeared into the night. At this time, the two people who stayed behind looked at each other. They saw the shock and fear in each other's eyes. Zhou Fu returned to his residence. After taking a bath and changing his clothes, he went to the practice room and began to cultivate. He sat down cross-legged. Looking within himself, he could see that the changes after his breakthrough were still ongoing. Because he was in a hurry to travel and fight, the pale golden mist that wrapped around his bones was extremely thin. It was barely there, and it greatly slowed down the speed of his growth. Thus, Zhou Fu opened his eyes and took the spirit concentration pills that he had prepared earlier. He reached out and grabbed 5 or 6 of them. With a pinch of his hands, the wax covering the pills fell off like snowflake. Phew! He opened his hand and blew on it subconsciously. Then, he moved it between his hands twice. Haha, I didn't think that I would still remember. Looking at the black pill in his hand, Zhou Fu came back to his senses and grinned. He remembered that time. It seemed like a long time had passed, so much so that he couldn't remember clearly. At that time, when he was eating crispy noodle snacks, he had done the same thing when he had eaten the last bite. After sighing with emotion for a while, he shook his head and dispersed the blurry image in his mind. He raised his head and swallowed the pill in his hand. As the pill entered his stomach, the Yangming wheel began to rotate. The pills immediately turned into rolling essence and were absorbed by the Yangming wheel. At this time, Zhou Fu, who had already broken through to the bone-forging realm, could feel the Yangming wheel even more clearly. Around his stomach, there was an invisible point in the shape of a wheel. There was a hole in the middle. In the hole was a ball that was divided into 2 halves, one white and one black. It was like a yin-yang fish. The essence that was surging in flowed into the black half, which was the yin-yang fish inside the ball. There were many lines on the wheel. These lines connected to the hole in the middle, constantly extracting the essence from the yin fish. The essence turned through the wheel and slowly turned into traces of pale red blood qi that flowed into the yang fish. So magical! Is this 3 wheels origin transforming divine technique really something that mortals can cultivate? Zhou Fu was shocked and deeply confused. At the same time, he was even more curious about the body refining hall that had disappeared. Now, in Zhou Fu's body there were 2 wheels. From the benefits that he had obtained from the 2 wheels, this thing was definitely not something that a normal gang or sect could possess. I'll cultivate first. In the future, when I have the strength to protect myself, I must see the foundation of this body refining hall. Zhou Fu's mind moved and felt the illusory Buddha shadow in his sea of consciousness. There is also Gui Yun Temple. He controlled the Buddha shadow and made a few hand seals. A cool and refreshing feeling appeared, and it didn't take long for his somewhat chaotic mind to calm down. Under Zhou Fu's navel, there was also a Qi-Si wheel. He urged the Qi-Si wheel, and a trace of blood Qi flowed into the Yin fish. As the wheel rotated, the blood Qi was transformed into pale golden inner strength and flowed into the Yang fish in the middle of the ball. The inner strength in the ball was then extracted by Zhou Fu and flowed into his meridians. Time passed little by little and the elixirs had finished transforming. At this moment, the mist surrounding Zhou Fu's bones became thicker. Just as Zhou Fu was about to swallow another elixir, a swelling feeling came from his meridians, causing him to stop. It seems that today's cultivation will end here. If I continue eating, my body won't be able to take it. Zhou Fu opened his eyes and reluctantly returned to his room. He closed his eyes and fell asleep. What? 3 people killed 1 blood changer? Xingang's eyes widened as he looked at the report in his hand in astonishment. At this moment, it was already the 2nd day. Reporting to gang leader, the Red Sea Gang is in an uproar. They want us to give them an explanation. I have also sent people to confirm that the blood changer who was killed was an old man from the Red Sea Gang. His name is Tong Sanhuai. This person was originally only at the 3rd level of the bone-tempering realm, and only recently broke through to the blood-changer realm. Below the hall stood the members of the gang leader's intelligence agency. Xingang naturally trusted these people. He looked at the report in his hand and sighed. That shouldn't be the case. After all, it was a blood changer. The person below the hall continued, I have repeatedly checked. At that time, Zhou Fu led 3 3rd-level bone-tempering realm cultivators and a group of guards to attack a restaurant of the Red Sea Gang. Tong Sanhuai was eating in the restaurant. After the 2 sides met, a great battle broke out. Zhou Fu was injured. Of the 3 3rd-level bone-tempering realm cultivators, 2 of their arms were almost broken and are currently recuperating. This has already been confirmed by the people of the Elysium. I still find it inconceivable. This kid is a bit evil. Xingang shook his head and waved his hand. I know. You can leave. Remember, keep an eye on that kid. Yes. After the messenger left, Xingang turned to Kong Yutsung and asked, What do you think of this matter? Kong Yutsung shook his head and smiled bitterly. I don't know. You don't know either. This sentence made Kong Yutsung's heart tighten. He opened his mouth and said, However, I have a guess. A guess is fine. Speak quickly. Yes. This subordinate feels that Tong Sanhuai was old and had just broken through. His body's transformation had not yet completed when he encountered Zhou Fu's group and was killed. Xingang was silent. He opened the report and read it carefully. He looked at the sentence, Tong Sanhuai broke through a few days ago, and frowned. Is the demonic whale-killing fist really that strong? Chapter 129. Maybe I should have given him a different cultivation technique. The red light in Xinggang's eyes flickered. The room was silent for a while. Xingang looked at Kong Yutsung and asked, Old Kong, did that Zhou Fu send a letter asking for pills? Not yet, Kong Yutsung quickly replied. Not yet, Xingang thought for a while, then said, Didn't he kill a giant whale blood-changing realm cultivator? Go to the inner treasury and take 10 blood yang pills to Zhou Fu. Blood yang pills? Kong Yutsung widened his eyes and looked at Xingang in shock. He hurriedly dissuaded him, Sir, you can't do this. 10 blood yang pills is a month's supply for you. If you give all of them to Zhou Fu, you won't have any pills to help you cultivate for the next month. At the same time, he felt very uncomfortable. The blood yang pill was a good thing unique to the Xing family. It could replenish a large amount of qi and blood, and was also a godly medicine to aid in cultivation. Even Xing Gang, the second son of the first wife, only had 10 pills a month. Not to mention ordinary people, even if he wanted to eat one, it would be extremely difficult. After all, his surname was Kong, not Xing. Xing Gang shook his head stubbornly. Isn't it just a month? I won't eat it. Now that Zhou Fu, with the help of 2 bone-breaking realm cultivators, actually killed a blood-changing realm cultivator. What does this mean? He stood up and paced back and forth, answering his own question. This means that the brat's tyrant whale fist must have improved. Not only that, I suspect that he has already reached the bone-forging realm. Facing Kong Yutsung's shocked gaze, he continued to deduce, connecting this to the fact that he cooperated with 2 bone-forging realm cultivators to kill a blood-changing realm cultivator who had just broken through. This means that this brat has the combat power of a bone-forging realm cultivator. The corners of Xing Gang's mouth cracked open, revealing a terrifying smile. Fighting across realms, good. As long as this brat had a cultivation of the 3rd level of bone forging in a year's time, then the battle between him and that old bastard would definitely be very exciting. Third brother, I'm going to chop off your claws this time. And in front of you. At the end of his speech, Xing Gang's expression was exceptionally ferocious. Streaks of red light appeared on his face, giving people the feeling that there were flames flowing through his blood vessels. Kong Yutsung's eyes widened at first, then he suddenly knelt down. His tone was full of surprise as he said loudly, "Congratulations on breaking through to the 3rd level of blood transformation." He 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 he. Xing Gang waved his hand and the fire on his face disappeared. He said, "Get up. Do what I told you to do." Yes. The 2 of them chatted for a while before Kong Yutsung returned to his courtyard. As soon as he entered his room, he saw someone he didn't want to see. He was so scared that he hurriedly turned around and closed the door. Then, he walked over. "Greetings, 3rd young master." At this moment, the person sitting in the room was Xing Gang's younger brother, Xing Feng. He was the 3rd son of the Xing family's legal wife. Old Kong, say, my brother's brain isn't normal. Why are all the people he meets so interesting? First it was you, Kong Yutsung. You have a clever heart and can be said to be full of schemes. Now there's this Zhou Fu. Hehe, why are you standing? Sit. As if he was the owner of the room, Xing Feng gestured for Kong Yutsung to sit down. Thank you, 3rd young master. Kong Yutsung wasn't surprised by Xing Feng's attitude. After all, this giant whale belonged to the Xing family. Xing Feng saw Kong Yutsung sit down on his right. He faced him, lowered his body and said, "Good fellow, the 3 of you work together to kill the other party's blood transformation. Although blood transformation was just a breakthrough and hasn't stabilized yet, it's still not something an ordinary person can do." Kong Yutsung didn't reply. Instead, he asked, "What does 3rd young master want to say?" Xing Feng chuckled and said, "Do you think it's possible for me to find that Zhou Fu and make him one of my people?" Hearing this, Kong Yutsung's expression changed. There was no need to think about it. Based on Zhou Fu's personality, this was an 80% possibility. He hurriedly said, "3rd young master, you can't do that. That Zhou Fu has cultivated the tyrannical whale fist. His killing intent has already corroded his mind. Furthermore, if you do that, 2nd young master will go crazy." What's that? Tyrannical whale fist? Xing Feng frowned and thought for a long time. Then, he asked, "What technique is that? Why haven't I heard of it before?" "It's the demonic whale-killing fist." Xing Feng's expression froze and he opened his mouth. After a while, he sighed and said, "Has 2nd young master really gone crazy? It would be good to have such a person as a member of my team." Look, Long has been so diligent in his work for me. After sighing, Xing Feng asked again, You just said that second young master will go crazy if I take Zhou Fu in? Why? Because of the demonic whale-killing fist. Seeing that the other party was unwilling to give up, Kong Yu Tsung sighed and scolded in his heart. There isn't a single child in the Xing family who doesn't need to be worry-free. It has only been 3 to 4 months since that Zhou Fu joined the giant whale. Back then, he was only at the Qi refinement realm, but he was already comparable to someone at the 3rd level of the bone forging realm. Now, he has crossed levels and killed someone at blood transformation. I understand. Xing Feng nodded and said, Second young master wants to borrow someone else's knife to kill Long. If I don't participate in such a fun thing, I would be letting down my second brother, who hates me so much. After he finished speaking, Xing Feng looked at Kong Yu Tsung with a half-smile and said, You are obviously telling me this because you want to borrow my hand to destroy second young master's stage. Tell me, what are you thinking? Kong Yu Tsung's expression did not change. He stood up and said, I am not thinking much. I just don't want to see my own people kill each other. Third young master, I still have to prepare 10 blood yang elixirs for Zhou Fei. I will not stay any longer. I will take my leave. Without waiting for Xing Feng to react, Kong Yu Tsung turned and walked out after he finished speaking. Blood yang elixirs? 10 of them? Xing Feng couldn't react in time. Zhou Fu's face was pale. He walked out of the training room shakily, looking like he was seriously injured. His current state was not an act. Just this morning, when the pale golden mist wrapped around his bones, he suddenly had an idea. Since bone forging was a transformation of the bones, then what would happen if he leveled up the secret scroll of iron bones? With this idea in mind, and seeing that his status had almost recovered, he directly leveled up. Iron Bone Secret Scroll. Level 5, Bone Strengthening Level 5, Blood Strengthening Level 2, Special Effect. Iron Bone. With the leveling up, Zhou Fu's internal force and blood boiled instantly. It was like a pot of boiling water, suddenly wrapping around his bones. The internal force turned into hot steel needles, forcefully piercing into his body. The intense pain tormented Zhou Fu. If it wasn't for the Wisdom King scripture, which protected his consciousness from fainting, something big would have happened. After the sharp pain of leveling up, he felt that his bones were very heavy, as if they were separated from his body. Every step he took made his skin and flesh hurt. If his status hadn't dropped to 60, he would have definitely leveled up Bronze Armor Art and Dragon Embracing Stance, which increased his physique. I was too careless. I should have played it safe. Zhou Fu sat on a stone bench. He didn't dare to sit on his favorite wooden recliner. Played it safe? Haha, 3 bone forging cultivators killing 1 blood-changing cultivator. You still dare to say you played it safe? You brat, you have a big heart. Chapter 130. Zhou Fu was shocked. Just as he was about to get up, a sharp pain spread from his body. His face instantly scrunched up. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a young man in a lake blue robe lying on his favorite recliner. Oh, you don't say. This chair is really good. Send one to me tomorrow. Zhou Fu was silent and dispersed the power he had gathered. Since the other party was able to approach him silently, it meant that the other party's strength was definitely above his, and not just by a little bit. May I ask who you are? Me? The young man sized up Zhou Fu and said, My name is Xing Feng, Xing Gang's younger brother. At this point, Xing Feng grinned. Long is also one of my people. This straightforward opening stunned Zhou Fu for a moment, then he said, Greetings, second young master. This was the first time Zhou Fu called someone young master, so he was still not used to it. I can't afford to be called second young master. Xing Feng shook his head. I'm the third brother, Xing Gang is the second brother. We have a big brother above us. Oh, greetings, third young master. After saying that, Zhou Fu just looked at Xing Feng without saying anything. Xing Feng rocked on the recliner for a while before saying, "Today, the entire upper echelon of the giant whale was shocked. A blood transformation realm cultivator was actually killed by 3 bone-forging realm cultivators. Everyone felt that it was inconceivable. It was also because of this that I wanted to meet you." Zhou Fu smiled bitterly. "I'd rather not have this reputation. Who knew that a blood transformation realm cultivator who just broke through would be so powerful? Almost, the 3 of us would have died." From Zhou Fu's face and tone of voice, Xing Feng was sure that he was injured. It would take at least a few months for him to recover from this injury. This was also what he wanted. As the saying goes, adding flowers to brocade was easier to win people's hearts than sending charcoal in snowy weather. There are no accidents in life. Tong Sanhuai is dead, and the one who survived is you. This is the truth. Everything else doesn't matter. Xing Feng smiled and said, "Xing Gang has prepared 10 blood yang pills for you to reward you for killing the enemy gang's experts. That is something that only the Xing family possesses. 10 pills are equivalent to 1 month's share of Xing Gang's allowance. What do you think? Are you touched? Blood yang pill?" Hearing the word yang in the pill, Zhou Fu felt a strange feeling in his heart. According to the information he got from Zhao Wanshan last night, those who practiced the body refining Hall's techniques had excessive heart fire. They had to use Yin attribute techniques to neutralize it or use Yin nourishing pills to alleviate it. Knowing that Xing Gang had actually taken out such a precious pill, Zhou Fu was half excited and half helpless. Zhou Fu cupped his fists and said in the direction of the giant whale's headquarters, "Thank you, gang leader, for your reward." At this moment, Xing Feng was stunned. After a while, he grinned and decided to change the topic. He asked, "Let me ask you, are you loyal to Xing Gang?" This question stumped Zhou Fu. What was loyalty? He had just joined a gang. Not only had he caused a lot of trouble, but now he had to pledge his loyalty? Even a cult wouldn't do this, right? Zhou Fu stammered for a long time before saying, "I am the giant whale's external affairs emissary. Naturally, I will follow the orders of the headquarters. Isn't this what I should do?" The rocking chair stopped and stopped swaying. Xing Feng, who was lying on it, stared straight at Zhou Fu's expression. He seemed to be trying to discern whether or not Zhou Fu was telling the truth. Finally, Xing Feng sat up and crossed his legs on the reclining chair. He said, "You didn't pledge your loyalty to Xing Gang? In other words, you didn't become Xing Gang's servant?" Without waiting for Zhou Fu to speak, Xing Feng said, "That's right. If you were his servant, he wouldn't have passed the magical whale-killing fist to you." Zhou Fu, who was about to speak, felt his heart tighten. Magical whale-killing fist? Tyrannical whale fist? Zhou Fu laughed dryly and said, "I don't know what third young master means. I didn't cultivate this magical whale-killing fist." Xing Feng waved his hand and said, "It's that tyrannical whale fist. Its original name was magical whale-killing fist. It's a technique passed down by a big evil sect. Although it's powerful, it has too many flaws. The requirements to cultivate it are also very strict. It's been in my family for so long, but only a few people have cultivated it." Xing Feng said with great interest, "I heard you're very proficient in this technique? Show it to me." Zhou Fu said with difficulty, "Third young master, do you think I can still make a move now?" "Pfft, what move? I'm a mortal evolution state. Do you want to try it with me?" Xing Feng smiled faintly. "Just circulate your qi. You don't have to make a move." Mortal evolution? This person was mortal evolution? Zhou Fu was extremely shocked. "Then, I'll be offending you." Rumble. A blood-red mist enveloped the space within a 2-meter radius. Cold killing intent and the smell of blood surged everywhere. It made the surroundings look like hell. Xing Feng's figure blurred, and then, he appeared in front of Zhou Fu. His eyes were wide open. "You really cultivated it for a few months? Not more than 10 years? Zhou Fu spoke. At this moment, his voice had also become cold and stiff. I obtained this cultivation technique from the gang leader. Okay, take it back. Yes. The killing intent dissipated, and the red mist returned to his body. Xing Feng looked at Zhou Fu as though he was looking at a monster and said, "Someone like you, which is old too, is crazy. He actually wants to use you as a weapon. TSK. As he spoke, he walked around Zhou Fu. Since you're not old two's servant, how about you follow me? Zhou Fu asked, Be your servant. Servant? That's what I thought before coming, but now I've changed my mind. Xing Feng's face turned serious. As long as you agree to follow me, I'll give you a chance 3 years later. A huge chance. Then, he looked at Zhou Fu and smiled. It's still too early to talk about this. Let's talk about the current situation. You're heavily injured now, and I don't have any good healing pills. However, I have a healing cultivation method. It's Heaven Tier. Are you interested? Heaven Realm Cultivation Method. Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat. Although it was precious, it wasn't enough to shock him. This was because the martial arts he knew now weren't inferior to others. In fact, they were stronger. Oh, it seems like I didn't offer enough. Xing Feng, who had been observing Zhou Fu's expression, sighed. I wouldn't dare. Zhou Fu lowered his head and said, There's nothing to be afraid of. However, this is the best thing I can offer you. Since you're not satisfied, then tell me if there's anything you want. After saying that, Xing Feng kicked the ball back to him. At this time, Zhou Fu was in a difficult position. Whether it was Xing Feng or Xing Gang, they could be seen as his leaders. The giant whale could be seen as a family business, and Zhou Fu was just a worker. Because of the special nature of his job, it didn't matter who he followed. The key was how to maximize his benefits within his control. Qi deposition pills. I want a lot of them. Chapter 131. Qi deposition pills? Xing Feng, who was waiting for Zhou Fu to ask for an exorbitant price, was a little confused. You said you want qi deposition pills? He had thought of many things, but he had never thought of qi deposition pills. For the current Xing Feng, he hadn't touched these things in a long time. Yes. Zhou Fu nodded. I want to cultivate, so I need a lot of qi deposition pills. A lot? Xing Feng immediately grasped the main point. How much? 300 pills a month. What? 300 pills? Are you going to eat them for food? Xing Feng jumped up immediately. This amount was beyond his expectations. Zhou Fu didn't explain. He took out a small box from his chest. Inside was the last of the Chen family's leftovers. There were about 7 or 8 pills. In front of Xing Feng, he grabbed the pills and threw the box away. He rubbed his hands together, and the wax coat fell off. You! Xing Feng was about to say something when he saw Zhou Fu swallow all the pills in one gulp. He was dumbfounded. Zhou Fu shrugged his shoulders helplessly and said, I bought these from the market. The quality is much worse than the ones in the gang. Third young master, you saw it too. Although I can't eat them for food, a normal amount really isn't enough for me. Xing Feng reached out and poked Zhou Fu's chest. Even if it's from the market, you can't eat it like this. Speaking of which, don't you need to meditate to digest it? Zhou Fu shook his head and replied, I don't need to meditate for this amount. I can digest it slowly. Good guy. Oh my God, Xing Feng was full of praise. At the same time, he thought to himself, this guy won't eat me until I'm broke, right? 300 pills a month. You're making things difficult for me. These pills are useless to me, but I really don't have the amount you want. How about you change your request? Zhou Fu retorted, if third young master can take out something that can speed up my cultivation, I will naturally be willing to exchange it. Assisting cultivation. Something that can speed up the cultivation of bone forging seems to only be the spirit concentration pill. Sigh, let me think. After saying that, Xing Feng lay back in the rocking chair and rocked slowly. Zhou Fu was not in a hurry. As the saying goes, the road to happiness is strewn with setbacks. 15 minutes later, Xing Feng said, I really can't give you the 300 spirit concentration pills you want every month, and what I'm using now isn't suitable for you. How about this? I'll make the decision to give you the pill formula for the spirit concentration pill. Pill formula? The surprise came too suddenly. Zhou Fu was stunned. Xing Feng continued, don't be too happy yet. The spirit concentration pill formula I'm giving you isn't ordinary. First of all, you have to guarantee that this thing can't be leaked out. Secondly, the corresponding pill cannot be circulated on the market. If you can guarantee that, I'll give you the formula. If you can't, then I can't do anything. What if it gets leaked out? What? Xing Feng grinned like a willow in the spring breeze. Everyone related to the pill formula will die. I'll do it myself. Since the conversation had already reached this point, Zhou Fu no longer hesitated. He stood up and bowed. This subordinate greets third young master. Ha 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 ha. Good. Good. Xing Feng laughed heartily. He didn't know if it was because he took in a genius like Zhou Fu under his command or because he caused trouble for Xing Gang, but in any case, he was very happy. After laughing for a while, Xing Feng stopped and said, "Oh right, now that you and Shilong are my people, let's forget about the past. I'll also get someone to talk to Shilong, yes." Zhou Fu didn't feel burdened by this matter. It wasn't that Zhou Fu was magnanimous. Although he had let go of this matter, the resentment in his heart could be vented on other things. He could vent it on Shilong again. These were two different things. At least, for Zhou Fu they were two different things. After all, his new boss had spoken. No matter what the purpose of this request was, Zhou Fu had to give face. This way, it would be easier for him to ask for something. Okay, someone will send the cultivation method and pill formula over later. Thank you, third young master. Zhou Fu smiled happily. At this time, he wasn't used to calling the other party young master. Instead, he became more and more familiar with it. After all, how could he give up the benefits for the sake of his own feelings? As long as the benefits were enough, not to mention calling him third young master, he would even call him third master. At this time, Xing Feng was calculating in his heart. Now, in the giant whale, except for a few elders who didn't care much about the giant whale's affairs, and the rest were mostly his own people. How could Xing Gang fight with him? Oh right, Zhou Fu, don't tell anyone that you're following me for the time being. Otherwise, it will affect my second brother negatively. Also, a year later, the battle between you and Shilong will still be held as scheduled. A year later? Battle? Zhou Fu was a little confused. Xing Feng said in surprise, "You don't know?" "Know what?" "A year later, the giant whale competition will be held. The winner will become the faction leader." "What?" Zhou Fu looked at Xing Feng in shock. "Looks like you really don't know." Zhou Fu frowned and asked, "Third young master, will second young master Xing participate in the competition?" The mention of second young master Xing made Xing Feng laugh. "No need for that, you can just call him by his name. Moreover, my second brother won't participate in the competition. If he participates, then what's the point of the competition?" Zhou Fu nodded. "Then what will Xing Gang do if he doesn't want to be the faction leader?" Although Xing Feng said so, Zhou Fu was still very confused. After a few months of understanding, he knew that the giant whale was not small. How could he give up the position of the faction leader just like that? How could he be so generous? Xing Feng didn't explain anything to Zhou Fu this time. He said, "You don't have to worry about that. Just focus on your own things. You have to know that I was originally the faction leader of the giant whale, but my second brother insisted on taking it from me. I had no choice but to let him play with it." The words, "let him play with it," made Zhou Fu feel a little uncomfortable. He was a little jealous and envious, but it only lasted for a moment before he suppressed the messy thoughts in his heart. Xing Feng continued, "Xing Gang has been the faction leader for so many years. Not only did he not do anything, but his cultivation also fell behind a lot. The elders in his family are already angry. When he goes back, he will suffer, he. As if he thought of Xing Gang's tragic ending, the smile on Xing Feng's face became even brighter. Okay, I've said what I needed to say. I've also done what I wanted to do. I won't stay any longer. Xing Feng stood up, looked at Zhou Fu and said, "Rest well. I'll send someone to send the pill formula and cultivation method over tomorrow. I'm leaving." As Xing Feng said leaving, Zhou Fu looked over, but he didn't see anything. Xing Feng disappeared in front of his eyes just like that. Is this the strength of an extraordinary? Chapter 132. The next day. Zhou Fu had just entered the practice room when he saw a box on the mat he was meditating on. He walked over and opened it. Spring Breeze Nurturing Technique. It's actually this secret manual. Zhou Fu was overjoyed. Ever since he found out about the whereabouts of this technique, he had planned to find an opportunity to get it from the Xing family. He didn't expect this technique to be delivered to him just because he had a new boss. It was really a blessing from the heavens. Zhou Fu picked up the technique and saw that there was a piece of paper at the bottom of the box. The pill formula for the spirit concentration pill was recorded on it. Immediately, he called for Yuzhu, who was outside, and asked her to find Chen Guhong. After about an hour, Chen Guhong rushed over. "Greetings, sir." Zhou Fu took out the copy of the pill formula that Yuzhu had copied and handed it over. "This is the formula for the spirit concentration pill. Remember it well. Don't spread it out." Chen Guhong's heart tightened. From Zhou Fu's tone, he could feel the seriousness of this matter. He hurriedly replied, "Yes, I will remember it well." Then, he stretched out his hands and took the pill formula. He folded it neatly and kept it close to his chest. After the matter of the pill formula was settled, Zhou Fu casually asked, "How's the Jin family's business route?" "Sir, I already knew about the 2 business routes of the Jin family. I have already informed leader Duan Cheng about it. Now, he has already brought people to deal with it. There is no news back yet." Zhou Fu nodded and said, I got it. If there's nothing else, you can go back." "Sir, I still have one more thing." "Speak." Chen Guhong took out a box from his chest and placed it on the table beside Zhou Fu. He opened the box and revealed the pills inside. "Sir, these are the spirit concentration pills that were just made. I was going to deliver them to you. There are a total of 50 pills in this box." 50 pills? Now that he had the Xing family's elixir formula, Zhou Fu no longer wanted to consume these crude spirit concentration pills. He closed the lid and passed it back to Chen Guhong, who was still in a daze. He said, "Leave these elixirs for the guards in the future. Don't reveal the formula that I gave you just now." "Yes. This subordinate understands." "Go." This subordinate will take his leave. After everything was arranged, Zhou Fu returned to the practice room and took out the Spring Wind and Rain Nourishing Body Art. The system prompt immediately sounded. Ding. Martial Art Spring Breeze Healing Body Nourishing Art is being loaded. Loading successful. Do you want to upgrade it? Status. 85. Zhou Fu confirmed the status value and then silently said in his heart, "Upgrade." Ding. Spring Breeze Healing Body Nourishing Art has leveled up successfully. Spring Breeze Healing Body Nourishing Art. Level 1, Advanced Recovery Level 1, Advanced Physique Strengthening Level 1, Spirit Focus Level 1. As the prompt sounded, all the muscles in Zhou Fu's body started to tremble slightly. He felt numb, as if countless tiny electric currents were flowing through his body. After about 10 minutes, the electric currents disappeared. Zhou Fu raised his hand. This action caused his eyes to light up. Originally, because the level of the secret manual of iron bones was too high, all the bones in his body were extremely heavy. Any random movement would cause him to feel extremely uncoordinated and even painful. Now, this uncoordinated feeling had lessened by half. Even the pain did not appear effective. Zhou Fu looked at his status value again. It actually only decreased by 6 points. Continue leveling up. Ding. Ding. 2 consecutive prompts sounded. Zhou Fu had leveled up by 2 levels. Spring Breeze Healing Body Nourishing Art. Level 3, Advanced Recovery Level 3, Advanced Physique Strengthening Level 3, Spirit Focus Level 3. After a quarter of an hour, Zhou Fu, who was drenched in sweat, opened his eyes. He took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. Breathing in and out, it actually lasted for 5 minutes. Now my body is finally normal. For the next few days, Zhou Fu once again lived a fulfilling and boring life. Boxing, stance, and Qi training filled up the entire day. Just like that, 7 days passed. In the afternoon, just as Zhou Fu was about to start practicing, Jin Peng came over with a letter in his hand. Subordinate greets Lord. To be honest, the current Zhou Fu really did not want to see Jin Peng. As long as he saw him, something must have happened. At this time, it was already the 8th day since Zhou Fu broke through to the bone-forging stage. His body's transformation was still not complete. It was still firmly and slowly progressing, as if there was no end. He wanted to maintain his current life until his body's strengthening was complete. Unfortunately, the heavens were not on his side. What's the matter? Jin Peng handed over a beautiful invitation with both hands and said, Lord, the Foreign Affairs Envoy of the Red Sea Gang, Iron Tiger, sent you an invitation. He took the invitation and opened it. I haven't seen you for a few months. I never thought that the old friend of Heong City has now become the Foreign Affairs Envoy of the Giant Whale. But it's really worth celebrating. Tonight, I will hold a banquet in Qingyu Lu. I also hope that Zhou Fuwei will not refuse. An old friend of Heong City? Zhou Fu was in a trance for a moment and then sneered. If Iron Tiger had not sold his information to the Hidden Dragon Guard, he would not have been hostile to several forces. Iron Tiger. Oh, it's really been a long time. Zhou Fu put away the invitation, looked at Jin Peng and said, Later, prepare a car for me. Yes. At night, Zhou Fu took a carriage and came to Qingyu Lu, the location of the banquet. Getting out of the carriage, a big man in the clothes of the Red Sea Gang came to Zhou Fu, with a pair of big eyes flashing with killing intent. Are you Zhou Fu, the Foreign Affairs Envoy of the Giant Whale? Zhou Fu's eyes flashed a cold light. Unexpectedly, the other party dared to show his strength to him? Could it be that Tai who was a fool? Didn't he inquire about Zhou Fu's record? Did he think that today's Zhou Fu was the playboy of Heong City half a year ago? The bodyguard who followed Zhou Fu flashed and came to the front of the big man in the blink of an eye. He kicked out like lightning, and the shadow in the air flashed twice in succession. Crack! The big man screamed and knelt down. At this time, his knees were broken into several pieces. The bodyguard who attacked sneered and reached out to grab the big man who was about to fall to the ground. He turned around and pressed the big man in front of Zhou Fu. Sir, this person spoke arrogantly. I took action without permission. Please punish me. Taking action without permission is punishable. The people around looked at Zhou Fu in amazement. Everyone could hear that the bodyguard was not asking for punishment, but asking for a reward. He flicked out a qi condensing pill. The bodyguard subconsciously reached out to catch it. Zhou Fu stepped into the restaurant. When he passed by the bodyguard, he said, Without orders, you will be punished with a month's salary. In addition, I am very satisfied with your way of handling things. I will reward you with a qi condensing pill. The bodyguard was overjoyed and hurriedly said, Thank you, sir. At this time, the people around were extremely envious. As for the month's salary, who cared about that thing? A month's salary could buy a qi condensing pill? Dream on. It was obvious that this clever guard had struck gold. Jin Peng walked to the side of the bodyguard and said in a low voice, Are you guarding the coffin here? Get up and follow me. The bodyguard stood up and kicked away the big man who was howling in pain. He stepped forward and followed Zhou Fu. Chapter 133. Zhou Fu went up to the second floor, and a loud laughter sounded. Ha 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 ha. Brother Zhou, I haven't seen you for a few months, you. Iron Tiger, who got up to greet him, was stunned. He stood at the top of the stairs and looked at Zhou Fu, who was a head taller than him. He was at a loss. A few months ago, when the two of them were still in Heong City, Zhou Fu was not as tall as this. You have really changed a lot. Zhou Fu smiled and said, Aren't I still growing? Iron Tiger grinned at this answer. He had seen people who grew taller, but he had never seen someone who grew so fast. He laughed awkwardly to hide the awkwardness in his heart and said, Brother Zhou, you're not used to coming to Ning'an, right? Although you've grown a lot, you're not as strong as before. Please come in, I've prepared a big meal for you. You can eat to your heart's content today. After that, he looked at the people who came up with Zhou Fu, and said to Zhou Fu, Brother Zhou, how about this? Let's meet and have a heart-to-heart talk. As for these people, I'll prepare a table of food and wine for them. I won't let them suffer. What do you think? Zhou Fu's eyes flashed, and he turned around to look, then turned back and nodded. Then I'll have to trouble you, brother. Hey, no trouble, no trouble. Iron Tiger ordered the waiter. Prepare 2 tables of food and wine downstairs, go quickly. Yes. Brother, please come in. Together. Following Iron Tiger to the door of the private room, a guard hurriedly ran up and approached Iron Tiger. This person did not speak, but under Iron Tiger's puzzled gaze, he fearfully looked at Zhou Fu, and then hurriedly looked away. Ha 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 ha, Brother Zhou, I'm sorry, you go in first, I'll be right there. After Zhou Fu entered, the guard quickly whispered a few words in Iron Tiger's ear and then retreated. Iron Tiger's expression changed. Doubt, shock, and anger intertwined. At the door of the private room, he calmed himself down and put on a smile. He pushed the door open and walked in. Ha 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 ha, I'm really sorry. There are a lot of things going on in the sect. Brother, please don't take offense. As he spoke, he walked to the table and sat down. What are you talking about, brother? Now that I'm the giant whale's ambassador, I'm in charge of the Elysium. With so many people working under me, there's a lot of work to be done. The corners of Iron Tiger's eyes twitched when he heard this. If the person sitting in front of him was a man in his 30s, it would not be a problem for him to say this. However, the person sitting at the table was Zhou Fu. He had a tender and fair face, and he was in his teens. It was a little strange for him to sigh like this. Ha ha. Brother Zhou, you're deeply touched. You're indeed a big merchant. If your father knew, he would be very pleased. Iron Tiger also pretended to sigh a little. His intention was to point out that Zhou Fu was, I called you brother, because I thought highly of you, but it did not mean that you were on the same level as me. At the very least, I'm in the same generation as your father. Zhou Fu did not care, but it was as if he did not understand the deeper meaning in his words. He responded with a smile, I don't know if the old man is pleased or not. He's a merchant who lies at home all day counting money. How would he know the difficulties of us young people who are struggling outside? Sigh, he sneered in his heart. You want to be in the same generation as me? Dream on. Ha 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 ha. Iron Tiger's expression changed slightly, and he laughed awkwardly. He changed the topic and chatted for a while. Then he picked up the wine jug and was about to pour Zhou Fu some wine. Big brother, don't. Zhou Fu raised his hand and slammed the wine cup on the table. He looked at Iron Tiger's ugly expression and said apologetically, Big brother, I never drink. Really? Iron Tiger raised the wine jug and looked at Zhou Fu with anger and embarrassment. His chest heaved up and down a few times, and then he slowly said, Brother Zhou, it's not that I want to scold you, but what you're doing. Are you looking down on me? At this time, Zhou Fu's hand was still on the bottom of the wine cup. Ha ha, what are you talking about? After receiving your invitation, I didn't even have dinner. Then what do you mean by this? Didn't I tell you? I don't drink alcohol. Hee. Tai, who put down the wine jug, his eyes flashed coldly. Who in Heyang City doesn't know about young Master Zhou's reputation? Who doesn't know about him? How dare he say that he doesn't drink? The smile on Zhou Fu's face didn't change, and he said calmly, I was young and inexperienced. Now that we're not in Heyang City anymore, we can't be like before. I hope you can forgive me. Although Zhou Fu said that he was magnanimous, the look on his face and the resolute look in his eyes told Tai Hu that he was not going to drink. Fine. Iron Tiger's expression changed, and he shouted angrily. Brother Zhou, you've really grown up after leaving Heyang City. Me and Zhou Detsai. Zhou Fu suddenly spoke up, interrupting Tai Hu's words. Brother, why are you so muddle-headed before you even drink? Anger filled Iron Tiger's face, and his eyes were full of viciousness. Brother Zhou, tell me, how am I muddle-headed? Big brother, you call me brother, but you call my father's name. That's not very good. Then how should I address you? Iron Tiger's tone was full of anger. Why don't you call me uncle? Bang! Tai Hu slammed his palm down, and the table between the two of them broke with a cracking sound. The dishes on the table spilled all over the floor. Bastard! Iron Tiger stared at Zhou Fu. You've really grown up. You think you can do whatever you want just because you're Wu Jianye, the giant whale's external affairs emissary, and the Elysium? Bullsh *T. Iron Tiger's face was flushed, and his eyes were bloodshot. Others don't know, but how can I not know? I can say that I've watched you practice. You're just a little talented, and there are many talented people out there. In the end, didn't you rely on your connections to ride on the giant whale's coattails? Humph. There's actually a rumor that you can kill Tong Sanhuai. Do you really think I'm a 3-year-old kid? Zhou Fu was a little stunned. It wasn't that this person in front of him didn't know about his achievements, but that he didn't believe it. The reason was also reasonable. When he practiced martial arts, he practiced in front of this person. Little Zhou. Iron Tiger's body leaned forward slightly, as if to give Zhou Fu a stronger sense of oppression. I don't care who's behind you. Didn't they say that you brought 2 bone-forging experts and killed our people? Hand over those 2 people. This matter is settled, otherwise. Zhou Fu leaned back and asked curiously, Otherwise what? Otherwise what? Iron Tiger sneered, You're just a merchant's son from a small town. If you insist on seeing the dangers of the world, no one can save you. Chapter 134. Iron Tiger stared at Zhou Fu and said viciously, You should know that the Xing clan is not God, and they are not your biological father. They will not always protect you. Young man, you must think carefully and not be impulsive. Looking at Iron Tiger's expression, Zhou Fu laughed softly. His laughter grew louder and louder, while Iron Tiger, who was sitting in front of him, had an increasingly ugly expression. What are you laughing at? What's so funny? Why don't you tell me, Brother Zhou, and let me be happy too? Iron Tiger squinted his eyes, and a dangerous glint flickered in them. Nothing, nothing. The laughter stopped. Zhou Fu still had a smile on his face as he shook his head. I just thought of something fun. Humph. Iron Tiger snorted coldly. Zhou Fu said, In other words, as long as I hand over the 2 bone-forging experts, this matter will be settled? Yes. Actually. Zhou Fu looked at Iron Tiger and said slowly, I still want to get closer to Big Brother Iron. If after this matter, Big Brother is not willing to interact with Little Brother, then it will be a great pity. Good. 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 Iron Tiger was so angry that he laughed. You have guts. You have guts. Following Iron Tiger's laughter, 2 people walked in from outside the room. Their bodies emitted a fierce aura that enveloped Zhou Fu. Brat, do you really think that I don't dare to kill you? Boom. The room's window suddenly shattered, and the broken wood was carried by the energy as it flew towards Iron Tiger and the other 2. Who is it? The two experts behind Iron Tiger shouted angrily. 4 pairs of palms pushed out, and the fierce palm energy dispersed the incoming energy and wood. The energy from the collision dissipated. Beside Zhou Fu stood 4 guards with cold expressions. Their fierce auras locked onto Iron Tiger and the other 2. You! Iron Tiger looked at Zhou Fu in shock and anger. The sternness in his eyes faded a little and was replaced by fear. Zhou Fu stood up and looked at Iron Tiger, whose expression was unsightly, and said, "You've been in Jianghu for so long, don't you understand one thing? Jianghu isn't just about fighting and killing." These words made a lot of sense. Even the 4 third-stage bone-forging bodyguards that came with Zhou Fu were attracted by these words. For a moment, everyone in the room looked at Zhou Fu, waiting for the second half of his sentence. Unexpectedly, Zhou Fu turned around and left. Just as he was about to step out of the door, he turned around and looked at Iron Tiger. He shook his head and sighed. "Everyone relies on connections. Why are you so useless?" After saying that, he turned around and left. Looking at the empty door, Iron Tiger came back to his senses. His blood rushed to his head and his face turned red. His eyes were bloodshot. He pointed at the door and was about to curse. Someone at the side hurriedly said, "Sir, you can't do that. They have many people." Before he could finish, Iron Tiger swallowed back the words he was about to say. After holding it in for a long time, he stomped on the floor and roared at the sky. Seeing this, the 2 bodyguards were so scared that they retreated to the side. "Keep a close eye on the giant whale at the dock. No matter what he wants to do, I'll make sure he can't do it. I'm going to fight him." Yes. 15 days later. "Sir, those bastards from the Red Sea gang are too much. They actually set up stalls at the front and back of the Elysium and are keeping a close eye on us brothers." Jin Peng looked at Zhou Fu and complained to him. "Did they make a move?" "No, they're just keeping an eye on us." Zhou Fu smiled. "It's fine as long as they didn't make a move. As long as it doesn't affect us making money, let them be. Let alone setting up a stall, even if they want to set up a pot, it's fine." Jin Peng looked at Zhou Fu with some astonishment. In his impression, his boss didn't seem to be so easy to talk to. Now that the other party had come up to him, it was strange that he wasn't angry. "Right, how's the progress at the construction site?" Compared to the confrontation with the Red Sea gang, Zhou Fu still cared more about his own money. "Sir, the foundation has been laid and the main part has begun construction. It's estimated that the house will be ready in 3 months. 3 months. Zhou Fu looked at the sun outside the room. After 3 months, the weather will turn cold, right? How are the decorations, carpets, murals, tables and chairs ready? Speaking of this, Jin Peng felt strange. According to Zhou Fu's request, these decorations were actually more expensive than building a house, and it wasn't just a little bit more expensive. Sir, the quantity you want is too large. This subordinate found many craftsmen to make it together and even placed orders in other big cities. Only then did we gather the quantity. After it's finished, it will take at least 4 months. Too slow. Zhou Fu sighed. Sir, it's really not slow. Jin Ping mustered up his courage and replied. Perhaps. Zhou Fu leaned back in the chair, looking a little tired. Sir, this subordinate will take his leave. Go. Zhou Fu stretched out his hand and pointed at his chest. His chest suddenly bulged, and he opened his mouth and spat out a scorching breath, as if he was on fire. Heart fire, a low and deep voice came from his mouth. His eyes were no longer as calm as before. Instead, they emitted a tyrannical look. This kind of feeling appeared after Zhou Fu completed the transformation of his body to the bone-forging realm. He was particularly prone to anger. Whenever he encountered something that didn't go his way, he would vent his anger, and his temper would be very violent. After realizing that something was wrong with himself, Zhou Fu began to consciously restrain himself. Even if he wanted to say a word, he would have to think twice. If he encountered something that didn't go his way, he would have to calm his mind before speaking. I can't completely believe Zhao Wanshan's words. Right now, my spring wind and rain body nourishing art is already at the 5th level, but it doesn't seem to be of much use. Right now, I don't dare to upgrade any of my cultivation methods. It seems that it's time to look for a cultivation method that can calm the mind. Speaking of calming the mind, Zhou Fu couldn't help but think of a mysterious cultivation method, the Ice Heart secret art. Not to mention heart fire, it could even suppress demonic blood. But it was useless. He had recited the chants many times, but there was no effect. Calming the mind, this isn't easy. Compared to the killing intent of the tyrannical whale fist, that Xing Feng and the others were worried about, the heart fire was the most difficult thing for Zhou Fu to deal with. Just as Zhou Fu was considering whether or not to go find Zhao Wanshan, there was the sound of footsteps outside. "My lord, this subordinate has an important matter to report." At the door, Chen Guhong's voice sounded out. "Come in." "Yes." Chen Guhong pushed open the door and entered. He turned around and closed the door behind him. He quickly walked to Zhou Fu's side and said, "My lord, we've already cut off most of the Jin family's trade routes. But they still have one last trade route that we can't take." Zhou Fu looked at Chen Guhong in surprise. He asked, "Isn't there Duan Cheng? Is there nothing he can do?" "Chief Duan has encountered resistance. A third-stage bone-forging expert has injured 4 of his people." "The Jin family is that strong?" "My lord, it's not the Jin family. It's a bandit faction on the Jin family's trade route called the Black Mountain Stronghold." Chapter 135. What is it called? At this moment, Zhou Fu stared at Chen Guhong blankly. His tone was full of surprise. He wondered if he had misheard or if Chen Guhong had misspoken. Chen Guhong was also very confused. He said again, "Sir, it's the Black Mountain Stronghold." "Are you sure it's the Black Mountain Stronghold and not the Black Wind Stronghold?" Chen Guhong took out a few pieces of paper and handed them to Zhou Fu. "Sir, this is a letter from Chief Duan. The person who delivered the letter has already left." Zhou Fu took the letter and stared at the 3 words, Black Mountain Stronghold. He felt an indescribable emotion in his heart. It was so King familiar. Was he going to kill them this time? Or was it just the same name? No, if it was just the same name, how could they injure his bone-forging experts? Moreover, Duan Cheng wanted to make a contribution now. He would definitely not go easy on this kind of thing. After some deduction, Zhou Fu could only temporarily believe that the other party was the Black Mountain Stronghold. He raised his head and looked at Chen Guhong. "Reply to Duan Cheng. Tell him not to clash with the Black Mountain Stronghold for the time being and to guard the other trade routes. Take the Huang family with you and snatch the Jin family's business for me. Wait until those injured bone-forging experts recover, then come find me." "Yes." This order made Chen Guhong's heart tremble. He thought to himself, "We've only been peaceful for a few days, and now we're going to fight again." "Sir, this is the latest batch of pills. 8 alchemists rushed to make it. There are a total of 300 pills." At this point, Chen Guhong's expression was a little hesitant. After a moment of silence, he said, "Sir, according to the pill formula you provided, although the effect of these spirit concentration pills is significant, the consumption is several times more than before. Our funds are somewhat insufficient." "No money?" Hearing this news, Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat. He had robbed everything from Huang Jia and the Chen family. How long had it been, and the Chen family actually said that they had no money? What happened? 300 pills and you've used up your foundation? Zhou Fu's voice sank. "Milord, it's not just the pills. The cost of training the guards is also very high. Although Huang Jia didn't say anything about it, I reckon that they're pretty much wiped out." Zhou Fu stared at Chen Guhong until the latter's forehead was dripping with sweat. Zhou Fu then said, "Let Huang Feng do it." "Yes." After receiving the order, Chun Guhong hurriedly responded, then turned around and left the room. Looking at the sunlight outside, he let out a long sigh of relief. Then, he walked out of the courtyard and said to the guard, "Sir has orders to summon Huang Feng here." Yes. In less than an hour, Huang Feng's figure hurried in. He looked at Chun Guhong, who was drinking tea in the pavilion next to the courtyard door. He approached and said, "Uncle Chen, you came so quickly. It's not that I'm early." "Oh." Huang Feng looked at him in surprise and asked, "What do you mean?" "What else could it mean?" Chun Guhong explained as he walked toward Zhou Fu's room. "It's just a matter of money." Huang Feng's expression froze, and he became embarrassed. He whispered, "Uncle, you told Sir everything?" "I did. How could I not?" At this time, the two of them had already walked to the center of the courtyard. "If you don't say anything, something big will happen. Now that it hasn't happened yet, let's make the situation clear first." After a few sentences, the two of them had already walked to the door of the room. They pushed the door open and entered. The two of them saluted Zhou Fu and said, "Greetings, my lord." Zhou Fu looked at Huang Feng and asked, "How is Huang Jia's situation now?" Huang Feng opened his mouth, and a bitter smile appeared on his face. "My lord, Huang Jia's situation is worse than the Qin family's. Back then, many of their businesses were hit hard, and now they've recovered, but they haven't recovered all their funds. No need to say this. Just say if they're not making ends meet." "This? Yes." Zhou Fu took a deep breath and asked, "How long can they last?" Huang Feng and Chun Guhong looked at each other, and Chun Guhong said, "Less than 2 months." Huff, he exhaled all the gloominess in his heart in one breath, and felt his heart constantly beating against his chest. Zhou Fu comforted himself, "Fortunately, there's still time. It can still be solved." He looked at Chun Guhong and asked, "Stop using the spirit concentration pills for now. Concentrate the resources to make another kind of spirit concentration pill first. 50 pills for each of the 3 stages of bone forging, and 20 pills for those who are injured. 40 for each of the 2 stages, 30 for the first stage." "Yes." From Zhou Fu's words, the two of them felt like dark clouds were pressing down on them, making them feel a little suffocated. 15 days. After 15 days, come with me to Black Mountain Stockade to pay respects. "Yes. Also, since you've been practicing for so long, bring those guards with you." "How are those people now?" Chun Guhong replied, "My lord, recently, we've recruited some people. Huang Jia and I have gathered 100 people from each family. The number of guards from our family is not included." 200 people. "That's enough." Zhou Fu nodded and said, "Go find Jin Peng and gather enough weapons and protective gear for these 200 people. In addition, each family will send 20 old guards to lead these people." "Yes." Also, each family will leave 2 bone forging cultivators, and the Chun family will leave 4. The rest will go. "Yes." "Go and prepare. We'll take our leave." After the two of them left, Zhou Fu took 3 deep breaths. Not only did he not calm down, but his heart beat even faster. He stood up, and wisps of thin red mist drifted around him. He took a step forward and his figure flashed. In the blink of an eye, he was at the door of the training room. He pushed open the door and entered. 15 days is enough. Ding. Scripture of the Wise King has successfully leveled up. Scripture of the Wise King, Level 4, Comprehension Enhancement Level 4, Physique Enhancement Level 4, Seal Enhancement Level 4, Vibration Enhancement Level 4, Defense Enhancement Level 4, Spirit Enhancement Level 4, Advanced Muscle Enhancement Level 1. Traces of a cold feeling spread from between his eyebrows, like a mountain stream, and flowed to every part of his body. At the same time, Zhou Fu suddenly had various insights into the use of various martial arts. He came to the center of the room and sat down cross-legged. It seems that this Scripture of the Wise King is indeed stronger than the spring breeze and rain bodily nourishment technique. in terms of concentration. It's just that I can't level it up too quickly, or else my body won't be able to take it. Sigh. The physique that he was so proud of and valued the most had instead become the limitation of the scripture of the wise king. This made it hard for him to accept. The golden inner strength in his body vibrated, and its quality was slowly changing. It became more solid and tenacious. As Zhou Fu slowly closed his eyes, the Buddha's shadow in his mind opened its eyes. It was a faint golden color, grand, lonely, and cold. There was not a trace of emotion, just like a golden Buddha statue in a temple. Whoosh, like a rolling tide, the faint golden inner strength was like a tide, all of it rushing to the center of his eyebrows. Facing this change, Zhou Fu only frowned but did not panic. When all the inner strength in his body disappeared, the center of his eyebrows was swollen and itchy. Above the Buddha's shadow, traces of golden lines appeared. These were the inner strength that was rushing in. These golden lines circled around the Buddha's shadow, and then rushed out with a whoosh, flowing into every part of Zhou Fu's body. It's a little heavy, but this breakthrough is quite interesting.